Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today's the 20th of November, 2020. Here's the deal. For those of you that may be new to our channel, I'm so glad that you're here. We have a farm. We raise pigs and chickens, and while I am out of commission because of my finger from doing a lot of that stuff, Leah was outside doing farm work and stuff before she came in. So that's oftentimes when we are running late, it's mostly because Leah is working really hard, just trying to do extra stuff. Let's see. Today we are going to talk about so much. Now, first thing you need to know, the recount has begun in Wisconsin.
Yes.
That's big. And it's actually going way better than Georgia. Yeah. It had better because it's costing millions. All right? Secondly, also in Wisconsin, breaking this afternoon, there was a shooting at a mall in Wauwatosa, which is outside of Milwaukee at the Mayfair Mall. I don't really have a whole lot of details, but I kind of find it a little bit suspicious. Just a little bit. That the recount's going on, and then all of a sudden we have a shooting. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, I hate to bring you mainstream media news, but
a woman who was there shopping with her 79-year-old mother, she said that the mall wasn't that crowded, although from the parking lot it did look like there were quite a few cars there when we took our first live look at the situation at Mayfair Mall. But we've been talking about the humanity of these stories and the people who were inside hearing these shots as this all happened. This woman described kind of what went through her mind, what went through her heart, and kind of her concerns for her 79-year-old mother that she was with. When they heard several shots, she said 8 to 12. Let's take a listen.
Right around the corner from where we were standing, there was a stairwell, like an employee stairwell, and we just went straight down as far as we could go. I had my mom hide in the corner, and I looked around for where we could go next if we needed to. There was a door down there, so after we stayed still and quiet for a few minutes. And then I went through another doorway and I found some other employees, and I let them know they were not aware at that time that there was a shooting going on. So, which I thought was interesting. They must have not been able to hear it down on the bottom floor. They immediately ran off to try to find some information, find out what we should do. And then shortly thereafter, everyone just started running, trying to exit the building.
We also have received a statement via Facebook from Mayfair Mall, and it says, "We are disheartened and angered that our guests and tenants were subject to this violent incident today. We are thankful our partners at the Wauwatosa Police Department, and we are cooperating with them as their investigation develops. Mayfair is closed at this time."
Well, and as we have mentioned several times, this is the third shooting incident this year that we have reported on at Mayfair Mall. We've had crews around the Mayfair property all afternoon gathering information and details for us. We're going to send it out to Sharon Bajenda. And what else can you tell us, Sharon?
Yeah, Mike and Natalie, I'm here with Laurent. He works at Hollister. Laurent, tell us the experience. What did you hear? Did you hear any shots?
I didn't hear any shots myself, but I heard my manager on the phone with another manager downstairs said that there were shots fired inside of the mall. So we just evacuated the store, everybody to the back of the store, and went outside by Cheesecake Factory to make everybody was safe.
And did you hear people running out? Did you hear people screaming or anything like that? And what was your feeling when you heard that there was a shooter?
I heard screams from the other customers out the mall, everybody running outside the mall. It was a very traumatic scene to hear the people's screams. My first thought was to make sure everybody was safe inside of my store and get out immediately.
Okay, and how did you evacuate? Were you able to leave right away? Did you run with the crowd when you heard them scream?
I ran with the crowd, locked the doors first, made sure everybody got the backside of the door. We all just ran outside.
And you said it was traumatic. How grateful are you that you were made it out?
Very.
You made it outside, exactly.
What kind of question is that?
Let's see. Here's the latest.
Thought that maybe with that first shot going off, she said that she thought something had fallen in the store, and then she saw a person go down, started putting two and two together, realizing that there was actually a shooting incident unfolding, and so that's when people started screaming and yelling. We're told this is on the first floor of that mall. That's what the witness was describing there in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin.
This all happening just within the past hour or so. That shooter still at large, multiple victims. You're taking a live
still at large
in Wisconsin. Like Mitch just said, this is right outside of Milwaukee. A lot of Milwaukee police officers there on the scene, a very heavy police presence. As witnesses are still being interviewed and police are still looking for that shooter who is at large.
You know, Mal, if I can, we're told by the mayor there in Wauwatosa that 75 officers are on scene whenever something like this happens.
Okay.
We're pet sitting for our cousin's dog, who's very, she's struggling with the fact that we're doing this show. So you're going to have to be patient with her. We're going to be patient with you too. You can't eat that hot. No, that's not a toy. Her name is Holly, so if you hear us yelling, we're not celebrating Christmas early. You know, I find it really interesting that the shooter is still at large, and that this is all happening. I think Gonzola says that he thinks that it's a diversion. Now, I want to be very clear when we talk about this kind of stuff on the show. I don't want to get taken off of YouTube. There was a shooting. Someone shot people. It's awful. It's so bad. Okay? We don't know why or what their motives were or who maybe encouraged them to do something like this. I'm just saying we don't have all the facts right up front, but they've cried wolf so many times, and we know that they have been behind a lot of these types of events. So let's just say we're going to be praying for the victims and praying that this sort of thing stops. This is enough of this sort of thing. What I may end up having to do is put her upstairs. Let me do that. You carry on with the show.
Don't you think she'll cry from upstairs?
Not if we shut the door. And even if she does, I think it'll be okay. All right, let's see. Otto says, that's the worst question ever. Are you happy you didn't get shot? That's like an MSNBC softball Biden question. I could not agree more. Leah's getting ready to talk about Rudy. If you guys missed the press conference yesterday, I don't care how much we talk about it today. I don't care how much you've heard from anybody else. If you didn't actually watch the press conference, go back and watch our coverage of it from yesterday. I'm telling you what, I want to be honest with you guys about Rudy. I don't really enjoy listening to him speak. I'm not a big fan. I think he's long-winded. I think he cuts people off. I think he's kind of arrogant. Leah is just so struggling here. But, so I feel like I don't want to have to put him down in order for my comment to mean more, but I want it to mean what it needs to mean. He was incredible. He was so on fire. He was so on point. I was watching him you can see my reaction. I was just riveted. And he kept hitting point after point after point. And he slammed them all. It was like in the cartoons where they pick up the thing and they squish, squash, 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 squash. I mean, that's what he did to the globalists and to those that have tried and attempted to steal this election. Additionally, Sidney Powell came out. Somebody used a flamethrower here. Rudy watered the room with a flamethrower. I felt like that was Sidney, man. She was incredible. We're going to talk about the Tucker thing. I want to play a little bit of her clip from her talking to Glenn Beck today and the clip of her talking to Maria Bartiromo. That whole thing is huge. Guys, these are facts. You talked to a friend of ours today who is usually in the know on these sorts of things and didn't know all the things that were going on.
Social media and all, so he doesn't really know.
So you take it from here. I'm going to take care of her.
Then she's going to get in trouble upstairs.
I think I can do it.
What if she gets into something up there? All right. Rudy Giuliani, the case for election fraud being made by American patriots in both parties. This is from Breitbart. President Donald Trump's legal team held a press conference on Thursday about the election fraud that's been uncovered. A large amount of it reported by American citizens from both major political parties who want to preserve election integrity. That takes us to Michigan, where there was an honest Democrat who said they were cheating. Rudy Giuliani, Trump's lead attorney, said to reporters at a press conference. We'll show you her affidavit, because I know you keep recording falsely that we have no evidence. that we have no specific acts of fraud. That's because the coverage of this has been almost as dishonest as the scheme itself. The American people are entitled to know this. Giuliani said that the press should not lie what the investigation has about what the investigation has revealed so far. I want to make something clear, and I know you guys maybe know this because you've watched us enough. I want to hammer this 5 million bazillion times, okay? They went after General Flynn with the full force of the FBI, the DOJ, and I believe the CIA, because supposedly it's not going to work.
It might work.
No,
I left our mom's door open, and I left Uncle Jack's door open, and we're going to give it 5 minutes.
All right. With the full force, they even had the Vice President of the United States suggest using the Logan Act against General Flynn.
Right.
Then they proceeded to use the full force of the extra arms of the United States government to ruin a man's life, to take our country down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And as Tucker Carlson kindly pointed out to us over and over and over again, they would say the walls are closing in around Trump. The walls are closing in around Trump. Trump's illegitimate. And no one put any caveats on those claims on any social media at all. Okay? No one put any caveats on General Flynn quote unquote lying to the FBI. However, you put up Hunter Biden's laptop stories and this claim is disputed, or this, and they have fact checkers. The fact check only goes one way.
Right.
Okay? The disputation of any sort of electoral fraud, and even if something is talking about the election and it shows that Joe Biden might not be president in January, then it has a caveat on it. It says this dispute about election fraud, and not all of it's fraud. Some of it is just rules that changed. Okay? They knew that Hillary Clinton, the DNC, had funded a document specifically to target Donald Trump as a Russian agent.
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI took that, and they went to our highest secret court, the FISA court, and they got warrants to spy on Carter Page and Papadopoulos, and these were low-level Trump campaign people. But here's the thing about those FISA warrants: they weren't trying to talk. They weren't trying to listen to Papadopoulos. They weren't trying to listen to Carter Page. They're trying to listen to Trump. They're trying to listen to his transition team.
Let's keep in mind something really quick, though, for those of you in the chat that maybe love Trump and are not convinced this is all going to work out.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter, but Trump is still president. He is president for the remainder of his term. Okay,
it's not going to work.
It's going to work. And right now, there is so much happening. Do you really think that President Trump, we haven't seen a whole lot of him. We're going to talk about seeing him a little bit today. What do you think he's doing? Do you think he's literally just sitting there on his phone, just tweeting like, I really hope this thing works out. I hope my lawyers are doing the right thing? No, I can guarantee you that the man that has fought hard for us for 4 years is using the full force and full power of the presidency to make sure that our votes counted. Additionally, we have some of the maddest dog lawyers, okay? I just made that term up. On the scene here. Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, that Jenna Ellis girl, she looks fierce. I wouldn't mess with her, and she looks like a little teddy bear, okay? So y'all need to just chill out. And remember, Al Gore was quote-unquote president-elect for 37 days. No one on our side that is at least knowledgeable of what has happened is denying that this was the biggest voter fraud that against our nation, and like Sidney Powell keeps talking about, around the world, that has ever taken place. This is the biggest thing, I think, in history.
You're going to have to go get her. Just let her down.
Okay, let me finish my thought and then I'll go get her.
I'll go get her.
This is the biggest thing that has ever happened in history, and we have the evidence. We have the proof. And by God's grace, Barack Obama, for some unknown reason, didn't fill hundreds of federal judiciary seats. And Donald Trump was able to fill those seats. That was by the divine grace of God. So when this hits those federal courts, it's going to be filled with honest judges that our president that we duly elected put into place. So keep that in mind as we move forward.
Speaking of judges, and actually I didn't really get my full thought out of there before Michelle jumped in on me.
Sorry.
This is going to be a rough show today.
No, it's not. It's going to be a great show. We have so much to give them.
It's going to be a rough show.
Only because Holly is here and she's kind of a...
New Supreme Court has released its new circuit assignments. Each justice initially handles emergency appeals that arise from the area covered by the assigned circuits. Barrett gets her old court, the 7th Circuit. Sotomayor gets 2nd Circuit. So just to let you know that Barrett is on the 7th Circuit, which would cover Wisconsin. Clarence Thomas is on the 11th Circuit, which would cover Georgia. Alito is on the 5th Circuit, which covers Pennsylvania. And Kavanaugh is on the 6th Circuit, which would cover Michigan. So the
that's not going to work either.
Don't know what
it was better
wants.
with her banging on the door than barking.
It's okay. Just let her be. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what she wants, but just let her.
She wants attention.
Come here. Come here.
Otto says we need paper ballots confirmed by ID and signature matched every precinct, every state, every time.
Always. You just want to be in on this, though. You can be right here.
Okay, so this is actually good news if they actually file anything that would need to go to the upper circuits. Okay, so when Rudy was doing his little showdown yesterday, he gave several incidences of what we would call affidavits. And they are signed under penalty of perjury. These people can go to jail if they're lying. And I was speaking to my friend who said, yeah, but that's circumstantial evidence. I said, when you have 6 people who signed affidavits under penalty of perjury that 100,000 ballots or whatever show up in the middle of the night, that is not circumstantial evidence. That is solid rock evidence. And if Hillary Clinton had supposedly lost the election and they had 6 people who said that these ballots showed up, do you think that the mainstream media would let that go? Just one incident?
If 6 people sign an affidavit and testified before court that they all saw one guy shoot another guy, but they were the only 6 people that saw it, and maybe they were bought off, right? I guarantee you that person's still going to jail.
We had Donald Trump impeached because some secret whistleblower, who we still don't even know who that secret whistleblower is, overheard the conversation. The conversation that is actually recorded and you can read the transcripts of. But because he felt that it was something untoward in that conversation, they impeached the President of the United States.
Right.
By some secret wizard who, and everybody can read the transcript.
Right.
Okay?
Anybody that really thinks that Biden is going to get installed, we don't install presidents, but the left is going to attempt to do that, is going to get installed. And please do not take this the wrong way in the chat. If you've said as much, whatever, you just don't know the facts.
Okay, here's the thing.
And we're going to give them to you.
So, I don't actually think that here's the thing. I don't blame you if you know all the facts and you still think that that Biden will be president. That is a very, very reasonable stance for the conservative mindset that has been for the past 100 years. Okay? Because here's the thing. You always lose. Conservatives always lose.
Because we always back down.
I didn't get to finish my sentence.
Oh, was that your punchline?
Yes. Okay. Talking about feeling punchlines. It's just so funny. We take these walks, and I get so excited because I want to finish Michelle's sentence because I feel like it's a game. And then we get on the show, and I get halfway through a sentence, and then you finish it, and then you go on a tangent. It's kind of funny, actually. Okay, because I've been working on this. Like that was like my whole thing I've been working on all day long. Okay,
give it again.
Okay, conservatives have been losing for 100 years. You lost prayer out of schools. You lost the abortion rights. You lost with the gay marriage. You lost with the Obamacare. You lose to the point where you enjoy losing. You prefer losing because it's the only thing that you know how to do is fight from underneath, is fight as the underdog. But I'm telling you, the devil took his mask off and there's no playing Mr. Nice Guy, because here's the thing, pre-2016 you were allowed to go about your life. You could have a Facebook, you could share some articles, you could just be you, okay? You could just be you. But then something happened. Donald Trump got elected. They had to show the whole world exactly who they were. And as a result, There's no, come here. There's no more Mr. Nice Guy with them. Okay? Here's the thing. These people get in power, they will ruin your life. Everyone's life. And it had to get to this moment. Michelle was talking to a friend of ours who, Dictator DeWine, dim-witted DeWine has a curfew on us. We can't go outside after 10 o'clock. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going outside after 10 o'clock, baby. That's what I'm going to do. Right? You're not my parent. You can't tell me how many people I can have in my house. And if you're in Pennsylvania, you can't make me wear a mask if I have a friend over inside my house. You're lying.
Dog face pony
soldier. Exactly.
I helped you with that one. So you needed help with that one.
And the reason conservatives have been losing for the past 100 years is because their leadership, their Christian leadership, are a bunch of namby-pamby, spineless jellyfish who are the cowardly lion instead of the roaring lion. Because when you have the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords on your side, it doesn't matter. 1,000 may fall on your right side and 10,000 may fall on your left side, but it shall not come near you. And something happened this year, and it had to happen, guys. This had to happen. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Because we're a bunch of lily white, weak-kneed, jelly belly, coffee drinking, raising hosannas in the church. Okay? And God can't bless weak Christianity, because if you're not bringing justice, what good are you? And I say that to the church at large. If you're not bringing justice to the poor, to the weak, to the bruised, to what's happening in our society right now, what good are you? And we're so into you put the kids in the public school, you do your 401k, you think that you're just going down the road and everything's going to be fine. But it hasn't been fine, okay? And 2020 exploded, and we have a choice to make, and we're making the right choice, because finally, we aren't the only ones. People are rising up, and there is enough. Even if you can't, if you're watching us, you are carrying this thing. I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm talking to the choir. You are the choir. You go and tell this to your friends and to your family, because you're watching this show, because you want to fight. You want things to be different, okay? God did not bring us to this point in the battle to abandon us. He brought us to this point in the battle so he could save us, so he could take us through to the other side, so that he would get the glory. Now let's get to some of these points, okay? All right. The American people are entitled to know all this stuff that's going on. Giuliani said that the press should not lie about what the investigation has revealed so far, including that it is Americans coming forward to share their stories of election fraud. Remember, they had COVID for the specific reason to get in mail-in ballots so they could change the rules on mail-in ballots. They had Mark Zuckerberg I think it was $18 million in one district in Pennsylvania to get out the vote, okay, and to do his part for election, blah, 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 blah. That's 174,000 votes right there. Okay, don't tell. This is a battle. Okay, you don't report to them that a citizen of this country, a very fine woman who's willing to allow me to give you her name, and I can't give you all these affidavits because if I do, these people will be harassed. They will be threatened. I know that people say yes, I want to see them. Then they got to go to court. And here's the thing, guys: cases take years to build. Okay, we all sat there for how many months with O.J. Simpson's trial and the stupid glove. Okay, they're asked to build an entire case in 5 states in less than a month. What kind of Herculean effort is this?
And they're doing it.
And they're trying it. And they're definitely trying. They're working as best they can.
Sidney Powell said on Glenn Beck today, he asked her specifically, do you think we have the time? Do you have the time to do it? And she said, yeah, I do.
Okay, so remember, this woman was assigned to voting during September. This is the woman in Michigan. She was basically trained to cheat. She said, I was instructed by my superior to adjust the mailing date of these absentee mail-in packages to be earlier than when they were sent. That is admissible into a court of law. Okay, I saw so-and-so strangle the so-and-so, admissible into a court of law. That is not circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is is hearsay. An eyewitness account is not circumstantial evidence. And I feel like people are just don't understand. They've not watched enough.
No, but they throw out legal terms and they don't know what they mean.
Exactly.
You'll notice I don't throw out a lot of legal terms because I don't know them all and I don't want to look stupid.
The supervisor made the announcement for all the workers to engage in that fraudulent practice. That whole batch has to be thrown out.
Yep.
Okay? That's not me saying that. That's an American citizen saying that under oath. Giuliani said the same woman said she saw election workers illegally coaching people on whom to vote for. Remember they sent like 12 FBI agents to Jussie Smollett and the hanging rope, which was a garage pool.
Hang on. Jussie Smollett alleged that he was beaten by Trump supporters. Then we have the NASCAR driver.
The NASCAR guy.
I can't remember his name, who had the noose that it was a garage door pool.
Thank you for getting the two stories separated from me.
You're welcome.
Okay, Giuliani also said the same woman said she saw election workers illegally coaching people how to vote. He told reporters much of the evidence is public and reporters can view it online, including in the Michigan case, Constantino versus the city of Detroit. All you've got to do to find out if I'm misleading you is look at the lawsuits and look at the affidavits.
So, Leah, Jim West in the UK wants to know if there are any further actions in Georgia, or is that done now? Bubba Smollett, yeah. It is quote unquote done, but it is not done. The Trump team of lawyers are going to continue to bring more lawsuits, and now they actually have even more lawsuits to bring in against how the recount was unlawfully done.
Yeah.
So no, it's not done, but that the quote unquote recount.
And the governor signed off of it. So according to, I'm sure the Biden team thinks it's done, and they're pretty happy about it. But we have many weeks, and just hang on to your tushies, okay?
This article, give them the backstory on Tucker before you read the article.
So you have to watch the press conference. It was so powerful with Rudy Giuliani and
Bubba Wallace.
Sidney Powell.
That was his name. Thank you,
Bubba Wallace. Thank you. And Sidney Powell has been talking about the Dominion software and saying that millions of votes were siphoned off from Biden to Trump. Now, I have some numbers for you I'm going to give to you, and I believe that they are correct and show you how this happened. The Dominion software executives were supposed to go to the Michigan House and talk to the State House and assure them on how the votes were tabulated, assure them that the software is legit and everything like that. They backed out. They were supposed to go last night. Tucker Carlson wanted proof of Sidney's claims, which are pretty explosive, and she said, I have a witness, and I don't know if you had that Bartomo clip or not.
I can pull it up 5 seconds.
She had a witness, and she had a numbers guy, and she wanted to give that as the evidence, and Tucker Carlson got angry at her and yelled at her, and basically is saying, you're leading us down a wild goose chase, and he's just angry. And I think that Tucker Carlson, honestly, he is angry, he is upset, but that's his job. And I feel like as a conservative leaning person, libertarian leaning person, he is so used to being the underdog, so used to getting angry at people, that he doesn't know when to just take a step back. So it was kind of some infighting, and everybody was excited after the press conference. I felt like there was a mood that had switched because Michelle, talked about the two Michigan canvassers who supposedly signed off, but they didn't actually sign the papers. So the Michigan is still up in play to not be certified. And they're meeting, Michigan lawmakers are flying in to meet with Trump and the Trump team soon, as today or tomorrow, I'm not sure. But I want to read this article about Sidney Powell. And you can take what you want away from this. Leah, you just taking us down a wild goose chase. I have to go with what my gut says. I have to go with what my eye says. I do not know how the courts will proceed. I do not know how that Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani are going to proceed with the court cases. The only thing that I can do is pray and share their information. And but I want to read this article by John Zimmerak about Sidney Powell. Back in 2014, I worked as a freelance for a public relations firm in New York City. I was there. It was there that I met an unusual woman. I didn't know many lawyers or Texans, but I knew it's rare that I encounter someone whom I'm afraid to argue with because of her sheer brain power and towering personal rectitude, but this was such a person. This woman had quite a career behind her, an evangelical Christian. She'd been a federal prosecutor and quit Outraged at the corruption she saw among her colleagues, she did more than quit. Horrified by prosecutors hiding exculpatory evidence and targeting the innocent because of their personal politics, she became a defense attorney to help people fight the feds. She gave up everything to expose abusive prosecutors, but that wasn't enough. At a huge financial sacrifice, she took time off of her practice and wrote a book and self-published it. And hire a public relations firm to get it out to people when the media ignored it. That book, Licensed to Lie, is absolutely chilling. It shows innocent Americans, even a U.S. senator such as Ted Stevens of Alaska, unable to defend themselves against prosecutors with vendettas. It recounts how innocent companies like accounting firm Arthur Andersen can be broken by biased and dishonest federal prosecutors and left in ruins. A real-life legal horror story. The book was too disturbing for me to read it through to the end. And its author was Sidney Powell, whom I used to go to lunch with in Midtown Manhattan. In retrospect, I feel privileged. I knew she was a powerhouse, but I little suspected what a historic role she would play someday. When I saw that she was representing General Michael Flynn, I knew one thing for sure, that he was innocent.
Pause right there because I don't want to lose this thought. It's really important, and when I read this article earlier today, it hit me. Sidney Powell left off being a prosecutor because she saw the corruption and the bias within the system, and then started defending people who were being prosecuted by these same corrupt federal prosecutors. So I want that to give you courage that she knows what she's going up against. They're not going to catch her off guard with their lies, their deception, their deceit, their underhanded sweep the leg type actions. Okay, she knows that they go for the lowest blow to the point where they may even try to kill you. She has dealt with these people before and won.
Sidney's not one of those lawyers who works for people she thinks are guilty as sin. She wouldn't have gone on Fox News, One America, Newsmax, night after night, and coolly laid out his defense in a tone of righteous outrage if it was just some client. Because the abuse of power and the perversion of law Sidney witnessed made her more than just some lawyer. It made her a crusader. It made her Joan of Arc. So watching the press conference with Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, and Sidney Powell was different for me than for most. I don't know Miss Ellis or Mayor Giuliani, though I don't suspect that they're cynical partisan hacks as some other people do. Keep in mind that a week before the 2016 election,
that guy that he's referring to, he quotes him from
Twitter, tried to suppress the pro-life vote for Trump by comparing voting for Trump to shooting abortionists on the street. That's one way to keep a job at the New York Times, I suppose. I don't have any evidence that Democrats use software invented in Venezuela to help socialist dictator Hugo Chavez steal elections, or that the Soros-linked company Dominion was used by Democrats across multiple states to steal votes from Donald Trump to give to Joe Biden in the middle of the night in just the strategic states where Trump was leading. I don't have that evidence. But the fact that Sidney Powell claims that she does is enough to convince me.
And me.
This is a woman that gave up years of income she could have earned in her profitable practice to write, print, and promote a book no publisher would touch. Its charges were too explosive, I imagine. Its targets, like Andrew Wiseman, the prodigy of FBI Director Christopher Wray, wield too much power. They went after Donald Trump. Remember the 17 angry Democrats?
Yeah.
Tellingly, none of the people Powell exposed and licensed to lie have dared to sue her for defamation or libel.
Because they know it's all true.
She put herself out there as a target for such a suit by writing this book, with no publishing house's attorneys on board to defend her, but no one did. I'm sure because her charges are absolutely truthful. Nonpartisan legal expert Jonathan Turley is one of the few reliable commentators left out there. He observed after watching the press conference that Powell and the rest of the president's team took a similar risk yesterday. They accused a massive corporation, Dominion, with links to friendly billionaires. And this is absolutely true. Absolutely true. They took money from.
They actually don't deny their connection of taking money from the Clinton
Foundation be donating to an election system? And they actually were in Dominion's offices were in the same building as Soros linked.
I want to know though.
Nonprofit in Canada, and Rebel News went and knocked on the door. They wouldn't open the door.
So does anybody here in the chat have?
This is one last line.
Okay,
this is literally the last line. And many foreign governments of felonies of colluding with corrupt election officials to steal the White House. Okay, you're right.
All right. If you're a business mind, you can answer me this. We have a business, right? If we needed startup money, which we didn't, we would have asked investors to invest in our company, or we would have taken out loans. I never would have taken donations. So what is it with these companies that take donations?
That's a good question.
What are they, a nonprofit or something? Like, if you're going to do, what do you just all of a sudden, I think that, you're a big philanthropist, right? I think that new voting machines are such a noble idea that I want to be part of donating to that cause.
If these charges are false, their careers are finished.
Or are they getting something out of it?
If defamation lawsuits get launched, I don't see how Dominion has any choice but to file them or go bankrupt. There's no way out of this. Okay? There's too much light on them. Sidney Powell could lose her house and her license to practice law. She'd be a pauper. The same true of Ellis and Juliana and anyone else on the president's team. But only if the charges are unsupported and untrue. Given the death threats to election officials in Michigan, the doxing of their children for refusing to certify a corrupt election, I'd say Miss Powell is risking a lot more than money.
Yep.
Ranged against her is a vast media machine determined to suppress the truth. Billion-dollar networks that trumpeted the Russian Kaluza hoax and Brett Kavanaugh's teenage rape gang. Do you remember how we were told we were convinced they were convinced that Kavanaugh in high school they had Michael Avenatti on, saying that he had an accuser that said that Justice Kavanaugh was as a teenager was a chain rapist. Or something. Part of a rape chain. That's what it is. Do you know how many times they had on Avenatti? They even said, "I hope you run for president one day." Hey, actually, Michael Avenatti was so the opposite of Sidney Powell that they wanted him to run for president. They're like, "You can run for president." Michael Avenatti, who's facing years in prison.
I thought he was already in prison.
I think he might be
for the Nike thing.
Okay, then pretended that Nick Sandmann, who smiled, was a neo-Nazi. The same networks squelched the solid evidence from the Hunter Biden laptop, abetted by social media monopolies that silence ordinary Americans. And of course, she has a whole team of Democrats ready to start a transition to an office it seems Joe Biden stole. If they succeed, what do they have in store for her, using the power of the White House? Let's remember that Kamala Harris's old office, and I keep trying to tell you guys this, is still trying to imprison David Dalladin for exposing her old campaign donor, Planned Parenthood, on charges she corruptly launched. I also know what the Democrats have in mind for this country and for President Trump's loyal supporters. Re-education on the model of conquered Germany. They have one of these guys as DNC supporters wants to suggest deprogramming us. Okay, we're putting our own lives on the line. You guys are just watching us.
So let me play the Maria Baratomo. I never know how to say her last name.
Well, I was. This is what they have in store for us. This is why it's important that we win.
I've already switched over the screen.
Okay.
We're going to play Sidney.
Didn't quite finish where I was going.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're playing Sidney.
We got two producers on the show.
Yeah.
Lawyers trying to do the work of a massive government institution and the biggest worldwide corruption fraud ever exposed.
So Sidney, what about this comment from the Dominion side saying we have no ties to Venezuela? What specifically are the ties to Venezuela? You and Rudy said that our votes in America go back to a foreign land, that they are looked at and processed potentially in Europe. Dominion is saying we have no ties to Venezuela, no ties to Cuba. Can you explain that?
All I can tell you is that, the company might have somehow severed or tried to sever the relationships recently. I don't know how they are parsing their words, but I can tell you that the company was started with Venezuelan money in Venezuela for the express purpose of rigging elections for Hugo Chavez. We have people that were there at his side while it was all done. They were in the control room and watched how the votes were flipped. They can watch the votes in real time. We have evidence now of information from the systems going to 3 or 4 different foreign countries during the time of the election. So those countries themselves could have watched the live votes come in and change the numbers. There's significant evidence of foreign interference of the worst communist countries on the earth with our election.
Now, Sidney, Rudy Giuliani last night was on Hannity, and he said this had to come from someplace in the Biden campaign as an instruction to all of them. Because he said that once you had a flaw in one Dominion machine, you saw a similar flaw in many different machines. So what was Rudy referring to, that this had to come from someplace in the Biden campaign as an instruction to all of them, Sidney?
I don't know what specific evidence he was referring to. We've had to divide and to conquer this monster that we're facing. And I am focusing more on the technology and the fraud, and he is working the individual witnesses on that side of things. And we haven't even had time.
Sidney, let me ask you this. A lot of people out there want to believe what's happening and what you are presenting because they want to make sure that this was a fair election and they want to make sure that their vote counted. Do you believe that you will be able to prove this in court in the next 2 weeks? I recognize you have said, and Jenna Ellis has said, we're not litigating this for the public media. We're not on a TV show. We want the courts to see the evidence, and it may go up to the Supreme Court. You've got about 2 weeks, Sidney. Will you be able to present, are you planning to present actual evidence of all that you've said? Dominion voting machines, swapping votes from Trump to Biden, as well as an effort to actually change the results of an election. You'll be able to prove that in court in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, I fully expect we will be able to prove all of it in court within the next 2 weeks, although the fraud case itself doesn't have to be done within the 2 weeks. But we have more than enough evidence now. We have more evidence now than half the prison population is imprisoned on of this egregious fraud. I mean, the evidence is really stunning, Maria.
Really? Okay, what's the most stunning, most egregious? Give me one thing that's the most egregious and most stunning, Sidney, as we wrap up here.
Well, one of the most impressive pieces of evidence is the affidavit of the young military officer who saw it all done and was there when it was created. He knows exactly how it works. He was briefed on it. And many other people are talking every day about how it worked. We've got Eric Coomer, as you said, admitting on tape that he rigged the election for Biden and hated Trump. We've got their social media posts. We've got all kinds of evidence that is mathematically irrefutable by experts, including 3 professors at Princeton.
Wow.
And it all wraps up and proves the same thing. The evidence of individual poll watchers who saw votes come in, saw the machines manipulated. The machines are never supposed to be hooked up to the internet. At least 30 of them were, according to a published article that's already out. That's an egregious breach of election law in itself. That should never have happened. That should automatically invalidate anything coming out of those machines in every state that happened in, if not across the country, because they can change everything as they're watching it.
Okay.
So that's actually a much longer clip than what I had even seen earlier, and it didn't. The clip that I had watched wasn't even in that. So you must have been talking to Maria for a while, where she actually answered the Tucker question, which is what I wanted to get to. But this was much better, I think, than her even answering the Tucker question. Leah told you what happened. Her direct quote to Sidney on that.
Yeah. So when you and I recognize that people are saying, yeah, but. They're not election lawyers. They're trial lawyers, and they are defendants. But here's the thing. They have been both prosecutor, Rudy Giuliani has been going after the mafia for years.
Oh, yeah.
Do you understand how you go after the mafia? You go after, hey, son, Joey Bob Three Fingers is willing to flip on, so-and-so. So when they have an election worker saying, I put it in the mob boss scenario. I got Joey Three Fingers out there who is telling me that the mob boss told me to go and launder the money through, the restaurant down the street.
And they have like 100 Joey Three Fingers lined up.
So these people, prosecutors, that's how you prove cases. So what they're trying to say is, I have evidence to prove a case. Yeah. Okay, I have 3 Princeton professors who are looking at these numbers saying that these are impossible numbers. I have witness and affidavits who are saying they were told to backdate ballots, to fix signatures. I have witnesses
actually adjust these machines.
In Michigan. There's witnesses who saw ballots come in through garbage cans and boxes. And somebody said there was a Biden side. I don't know if this is true or not. Okay, that is why you have to go before a judge, and a judge has to say, okay, wait a minute. There's one person who says this, and I might throw it out. There's 2 people who say this, I might throw it out. Right. But I have 6 witnesses on the night of the crime who saw the crime happening. You can't throw that out.
You're yelling again.
Okay, so but here's the thing. They're not going to give you what every affidavit says. They're not going to show you every single person and give you every single person's name. They do need to get into court. So, and we got to get before the Supreme Court. So that's where we need to go for all of these things. Now, back to what they have in store for us, the Democrats. The Democrats do have this in store. I don't know if this is a fantasy or whatever. No, seriously, how do you program? Come here. Deprogram. Come here. 75 million people. Where do you start? Fox News, Facebook. We have to start thinking in terms of post-World War II Germany or Japan, or the failures of Reconstruction in the South. This is not your standard partisan policy disagreement. This is a conspiracy theory, fueled, belligerent death cult against reality and basic decency. The only actual policy debates of note are happening from within the Dem coalition between the left and the center left. And
we actually felt the same way about you guys for 4
Well, there was this thing
years.
called this PP dossier, and you didn't have any people to admit to it. Did you? You had no witnesses saying that Donald Trump had prostitutes peeing on the bed. Not one. Right? You didn't have one witness saying that. That was some Russian guy in a bar somewhere, and they got a FISA application on that thing. Okay? It was an ex-MI6 guy who hated Trump from the UK, who supposedly had Russian sources. Then they used this UK guy and this Russian sources guy, and to go after Donald Trump for 3 years, and they got 17 angry Democrats to go after Donald Trump. Okay, and then they had one insider whistleblower who heard of a conversation, and we all read the conversation. Right. Okay, they impeached Trump anyways. So if anybody needs to be deprogrammed, it's every death cult on the left. We're not the ones burning down cities, are we? Y'all need to be deprogrammed. The BLM people need to be deprogrammed. You need to stand down. Okay. So finishing the Sidney Powell. But there Sidney stood fearlessly on television, her voice quivering a little at the enormity of the evil she has helped to uncover. Meanwhile, the Vichy conservatives over at National Review and other squish revenues sniped at her and at Rudy Giuliani, who faced down the hitman of the New York Mafia, then broke its back. One called the Trump team unhinged and sniffed at its lack of, quote, dignity. Oh, yeah, when Hillary Clinton told everybody, over and over again that the election was stolen from her, first it was Russian, then it was Facebook, then it was the deplorables, and then it was some other servers in Bulgaria or whatever. If you think your country's elections are being stolen, your main concern is for keeping your dignity, then I don't want you next to me in a foxhole. You'll switch sides if the enemy offers a chocolate bar and a chance to save your skin. I want someone like Sidney Powell, a whistleblower and a Christian patriot. I hope her evidence is watertight and bulletproof, and frankly, that's for the next few weeks. She has taken to wearing Kevlar. That's how much I trust the people who want to silence her. Please pray for her safety and the future of our democracy. And that's what I have to say about Sidney Powell.
That's so good.
I didn't say it, but yeah. That's
it was an excellent article.
All right. So this is John Solomon from Just the News. He writes for The Hill, legit reporter. Dominion voting software can permit staff to manually adjust ballot returns during the counting process. Voting software deployed by the election hardware company, Dominion Software Votings, can allow, now remember, CBS, PBS, NPR, all for several years have been showing us how you can change votes in the middle of the vote. Some guy thought it'd be funny to go to Michigan State and have everybody vote for if they liked Ohio State or Michigan State. He wanted to show you how these machines to get people thinking about these machines, how he could manually switch their votes. So he switched it so that he had a weighted algorithm so that for the Michigan votes, they went for Ohio, and then look, Ohio won. He was showing people, trying to show people how these machines can be manipulated. Yeah. Why would we have any machine that had that capability? This isn't a game. This isn't a video game.
I don't know what your article from John Solomon is about to say, but I do know that the actual user manual gives instructions for how to drag and drop votes and throw them in the trash. It's not a design flaw. It's a design feature.
Right. So these systems allow staffers to manually adjust tally amounts while reviewing scanned ballot images. A process that the company says allows for resolution of voter intent is where ballot marks are unclear. Dominion has been at the center, and actually what happens is that, from what I understand, these scanned ballot images should be tossed to the side and manually reviewed, not for the machine to make those changes. Dominion has been at the center of tumultuous controversy since the election amid the reports of glitchy and unreliable voting software. Oh, we randomly found 6,000 votes for Trump over here. Oh, in Georgia, we found a couple memory sticks, but no worries. Our elections are fine. The recount went fine. Everything's fine here. We're all fine here. Liars. Kemp and his Secretary of State took money for those machines, by the way. The company has a presence in a majority of U.S. states, including critical battleground states. Okay. No credible reports of evidence of any software issues exist, the company has stated on its website. Dominion equipment is used by county and state officials to tabulate ballots. Human errors related to reporting tabulated results have arisen in a few counties, including someone using Dominion equipment. But the company also stated that vote deletion switching assertions that have circulated are false. The company has claimed that it is not possible for a bad actor to change election results without detection. Dominion does, meanwhile, allow at least one avenue for manual adjustment of vote tallies as part of a process known as adjudication. Santa Clara County, California, as part of its agreement with Dominion Voting Systems, stipulates that the company's software must allow staff to adjust tally based on review of scanned ballot images. Evelyn Menendez, the public information officer for Santa Clara County Register of Voters, said the wording in the contract is a little weird, but that it refers to a provision meaning to ensure the adjudication of certain uncertain votes can occur. Okay, so it's the process of looking at the ballot and determining did the voter mean to do that. If someone puts in a dot instead of a check mark, or if they didn't bubble in it all the way, la la la. Two people, one on the mouse and the other on the clicker, are looking at the same screen, talking about the same ballot, determining the voter's intent. It's a manual view of what voters meant to do. Let's see. This is normal. But anybody reviewing the ballot will be able to see how the voter marked their ballot, how the scanner interpreted the intent, and how the ballot was adjudicated. Now, that's what the brochure says. You had Dominion people there, sometimes scanning the ballots.
Yep.
Who are these people? We didn't hire them. They're not people from the county. They're not people. And let me just go over here to some of these. Let's see.
When you have the lobbyists for this software working for the likes of Nancy Pelosi and so forth, when you have people like the Clinton Foundation donating, when Dominion software is right next door to a George Soros affiliation, you can't send your Dominion workers to go and scan ballots.
Remember, Texas said that these Dominion software did not
meet their criteria.
Any sort of criteria.
No, it was too corrupt.
Right, it was too corrupt. Now, Dominion was supposed to meet with the Michigan state representatives.
Was it Michigan or Pennsylvania?
I mean Pennsylvania state representatives. They backed out. So the Michigan state representatives held a press conference. And let me play you a couple of...
I haven't seen this yet. I'm excited about this. Do you need me to play it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. This is really awesome. Guys, everything's coming out. Just calm down. Be excited. Be happy.
This is the PA House Government Committee Chair Seth Groves details how Dominion voting systems were used by 1.3 million of PA's Pennsylvanians in 2020 election. 19% of the total votes cast in PA's 2020 general election were cast on Dominion systems. Dominion systems abruptly canceled today's hearing.
You're probably wondering why you're not viewing a policy hearing. The committee scheduled a public hearing with Dominion voting systems to be held now. The members of the State Government Committee were looking forward to publicly addressing the plethora of accusations of Dominion voting systems in a format which would have allowed open and honest dialogue. I was impressed at what appeared to be the willingness of Dominion voting systems to address accusations, and it would have put 1.3 million Pennsylvanians who use their machines at ease, including myself. Thinking Dominion was willing to publicly back up their product, which Pennsylvania taxpayers invested millions to purchase and voters entrusted with their sacred ballots, was truly remarkable. I truly felt Pennsylvanians and the nation could get some answers into the truth of the effectiveness of Dominion voting systems. Unfortunately, last evening, Dominion voting systems lawyered up and backed out of their commitment to the people of Pennsylvania to provide their input in a public format and discuss their voting systems, of which 1.3 Pennsylvanians entrusted. Instead of running towards the light of honesty and integrity, Dominion voting systems retreated to the darkness. Why? Why would a vendor of public goods fear discussing their products sold to the public for the public good? If Dominion's products were successful and operated as they were supposed to, why wouldn't Dominion take the opportunity to publicly review its success? How hard is it to say, our ballot machines worked exactly as promised, and they are 100% accurate? Why, after weeks of accusations, has Dominion Voting Systems not released any analysis of the success of their voting machines to the public in order to stop their accusers in their tracks? They have nothing to hide. Why are they hiding from us? Today, I am saddened to report to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania and the 1.3 million voters who trusted Dominion Voting Systems with their ballots that Dominion Voting Systems has hung you out to dry and slapped you in your faces. Not only are Pennsylvanians more skeptical, but the actions of Dominion Voting Systems last night have led credibility to their accusers' accusations.
Wow, is there another one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's see, that one's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. I saw that.
Let's see here if I got her.
So
up.
proud of them coming out and just doing that in spite of. He made a really good point. They're proving.
This is Representative Dawn Kiefer.
Mine being one of them in York County, utilized the Dominion software. And Pennsylvanians deserve to know exactly how Dominion systems worked, as well as what software was utilized in our election process, and the security measures that they had in place so that we can give voters the confidence on the election outcomes. Most of us would agree here that we trust the workers in our polling places, and we trust the workers in our counties. There are neighbors and there are people that we elected. But what we don't know, and therefore we can't trust, is the role of third-party companies, right? So when Dominion said they would come in and answer the question, this was an opportunity for them to demonstrate who they were, the services they were providing, the products that they were selling us, and how they were being utilized, and give the voters the confidence that they're looking for. Unfortunately, they're rescinding their acceptance of participation in our committee hearing, robbed our voters of that information. Dominion, questions that we had, did Dominion play a role in the tabulation of the votes cast? We don't know. And was it the same in all the counties? We don't know. Did Dominion program the software in the equipment that was used at the 12 counties? We don't know. It's what we're hearing they're doing in other states, but are they doing it here? We don't know. Was there direct county oversight? Was there expertise in that oversight? You can put anybody to oversee it, but if you don't know how it operates or why it operates, is that oversight? Were test runs conducted before the election? Were they done after the election? How do we know? Does Dominion use open source softwares so that observers can go in and they can see exactly what switches are being turned on and turned off? We don't know. Transparency is key. So if they're doing this, if they used open source software, right, we would know what's going on there. The average observer could take a look to see what that process is.
Wow, she's awesome.
Yeah. So those are the questions coming out of PA today.
And that should give you encouragement. Sharon O'Neill here in the chats is from Pennsylvania, and she's like, there's so much corruption. Did my vote even count? Be encouraged, because obviously your Republican representatives there have a backbone.
You should go on and see if it did count. If you voted in person, it probably did, but I don't know. And the next question is, was it switched? Okay, I can't answer you that. But if you voted in mail, you should be able to see if they received it at least. So in a sworn statement, a mathematician flags up to 100,000 ballots. See here.
Dual system, unequal protection. You can prove it component, or the part that has to snap in next is they've set up great constitutional arguments that there's been a dual system, unequal protection. You can prove it in Pennsylvania. You can prove it in Wisconsin. You can prove it in Michigan.
So these are constitutional things that when you can get into the Supreme Court with the equal protection law, you can then bring a lot of these other witnesses before the judges. You can bring in more. You can bring in more to bolster up. Not only did this and happen, but all this other stuff happened as well. The equal protection. Remember, only those in Democrat counties in Pennsylvania were allowed to cure their ballots. Those Republican counties were not allowed to cure their ballots. That throws out a huge swath of votes, because how do you have equal protection if we can just say, I'm sorry, this time your vote didn't count, or this time you didn't have the same opportunity as other people had, we'll get it right next time.
Right.
That's not how elections work.
In other states, they need to show the scope of votes that are potentially been changed because of this misconduct or rule changes or fraud. And later tonight on Just the News, we're going to be able to give it's an affidavit from a data scientist who took a look at a pool of votes in Pennsylvania alone, where he sees 100,000 potential votes, approximately 100,000 votes that are potentially dubious, fraudulent, misrecorded. That is a huge pool of way larger than any numbers that we've been talking about. That's the sort of evidence that has to come into the next phase of this legal case. So the courts say, listen, all right, I get the idea that we screwed up the system. Show me the votes. And I think this affidavit tonight from this respected data scientist will break some ground. When you're talking about a 100,000 vote block in just one state, you can see how these states can be called into question.
Britt Baza had wanted to know who the CEOs were and if they were Democrats. I'm not sure if they are. The only thing I can find is
the CEOs of Dominion?
Yeah.
Dominion is a Canadian company.
Well, but I think what he meant was in general, like, are they more like globalist? Obviously they are. I can't find out in my quick search, but their names are John Powell and Ian McVicker and James Hoover. So if you want to write those down, John Poulos, Ian Mac MAC capital VICAR, and James Hoover.
They're not Americans,
right?
Okay, that's your big thing there.
But we do know. Here's what you need to know. What Sidney Powell said earlier. It was a system that was designed and created to rig elections for Venezuela, and it has been used.
Let us be clear. So this is where people are getting
in multiple places around the world.
People are getting tricky, and I think I might have an article up to explain how Smartmatic is the software, Dominion is the company, and when these different companies with the different software, so it's a merge. It started as an inception with the Venezuelan, and it switched and it merged into another company, and it merged into another company.
And they keep getting new names, but it's all the same stuff.
It's all the same software. That's what's important to know. In a sworn declaration, a respected mathematician says his analysis of election data and phone interviews with Pennsylvania voters raises questions about as many as 100,000 absentee ballots requested in the key battleground state where President Trump and Joe Biden are separated by about 82,000. It started at 46, and then they just keep finding more and more votes for Joe Biden. Have you noticed that? It just never stops. Williams College professor Stephen Miller, a Yale and Princeton trained math expert, said he analyzed Pennsylvania ballot data collected by former Trump campaign data chief Matt Braynard, as well as the 2,684 voter interviews conducted by a phone bank. And I think we kind of talked about this, but Michelle and I listened to Matt Braynard give his overview on, and Tim Pool has a really good breakdown. What Matt Braynard did is he had like 6 areas where he was going to investigate how these votes could have been switched or whatever. Probably he didn't find a lot of dead people voting. Very interesting. But he did find Trump people who are Republican people who requested absentee ballots, who when they looked on the website, they had not received their ballots.
Right.
And there were a lot of people who had moved out of town, and people voted in their name. And there were several of these things. And so what they did was they broke it down. They conducted telephone interviews. It was hard. They made 2 million calls. They finally got down to a small number of people who would actually answer the phone and people who would actually sign an affidavit. Okay, and these are admissible to court because this was done, you know, by the book here. So one involved possible votes that were not counted. The other ballots that appeared to be requested by someone other than a registered voter. I estimate that the number of ballots that were either requested by someone other than the registered Republican or requested and returned but not counted range from about 89 to 98,000. According to Pennsylvania state data from early and absentee requests, there are roughly 165,000 ballots requested in the names of registered GOP voters that had not been counted as of November 16th. FEC Commission Chairman Trey Traynor told Just the News that Miller's analysis provides fresh evidence of potential voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. This data, which is provided by an expert witness who would be qualified in almost any court in the country, adds to the conclusions that some level of voter fraud took place in this year's election. Therefore, to rush and certify the results that are this suspicious from places with known election violations would nullify millions of votes that were legally cast by independent
When
voters.
we were listening to the interview with this guy yesterday or the day before, one thing that he pointed out that I think is really, really important to reiterate is everyone says, well, this kind of fraud takes place every time. And he's like, then it's time it stopped because this is enough to rig an election.
But the number of absentee ballots has always been very small.
Exactly.
Very small numbers.
Now we're talking about huge. Remember, normal absentee votes, 1%. We were at 49% this time.
Almost surely the number of ballots requested by registered Republicans and returned but not counted range from 38,000 to 56,000, and almost surely the number of ballots requested by someone other than the registered Republican is between 37 and 58,000.
That's gigantic.
58,000 people.
When we're talking about, like in Wisconsin, what's it, a 20,000 margin, 20,000 vote margin or something like that? I mean, and in Pennsylvania, it's bigger, but we also know that we have these vote drops that happened. We have ballots that were scanned multiple times. I mean, this is enough if you add it up to easily give. That's why when Rudy came out yesterday and he said, we've got enough evidence for Trump to double.
So this is my favorite, I think my favorite
these margins.
Article tonight. Nearly a third of Democrats actually believe the election was stolen from Trump.
I told you.
While the election hasn't been certified, the results are pending litigation. The media has effectively crowned Joe Biden victor. The voters have some strong opinions on the matter. According to the Rasmussen poll conducted November 7th through 18th, nearly half of likely voters, 47%, believe the election was stolen from Trump. If Joe Biden is ultimately certified as the winner, there will undoubtedly be a big fat asterisk on his presidency. This should be very concerning for Joe Biden. President Bush had the 2000 election cast a dark shadow over his presidency, with many Democrats to this day refusing to acknowledge his presidency as legitimate. If Biden is confident in the legitimacy of the results as they stand now, he should be willing to let the process continue and should publicly express his support for this. But Joe Biden's problems are not simply because many Republicans believe the election was stolen. It's true the polls showed a significant partisan divide on this issue. 75% of Republicans believe it's very likely, 61% somewhat likely, and 14% the election was stolen from Trump. But according to the poll, while 69% of Democrats say it is not at all likely, 61%, not very likely, 80%, that the election was stolen from Trump, 30% of Democrats believe it's very likely or somewhat likely. So it's somewhat likely or very likely. 30% of the Democrats say it could be likely. It definitely could be. It definitely. Here's the thing: 30% of Democrats would not be shocked.
Right.
They would not be shocked.
That's good. Those are the ones that won't be rioting and burning everything down. 60% will be. Let me read a couple of comments. Donna Terry says, you don't need the votes of dead people when you have a machine that will treat for you. Jim West in the UK says, where are we with states Trump needs? I love how you say we. If we won Wisconsin, what else does he need? All right, so we really need three. Gosh. We need three. But Georgia doesn't count, because Georgia hasn't been assigned its votes to Joe Biden yet.
It has.
Has it?
Technically it has.
Well, that I meant as of his 290 was.
Oh.
Okay. So Trump needs 3 states besides Georgia. All right. But getting Georgia is also really important as well. All right. So, but the recount that's taking place in Wisconsin right now is huge.
Yeah.
And the way that they're doing that, and Leah's going to get to that, looks right on the up and up, that we're all going to be able to trust that this is going to, they've got to be terrified about and if we find enough significant votes in the 2 counties that we're paying millions of dollars to count, counties. Then you can go to the other counties as well. Michigan, the fraud is huge. Pennsylvania, the fraud is huge. I think that's where we're looking at. Those 3 states right now are our best bet.
There's a lot of nitpicking going on in Wisconsin, and I'm going to go to that in a second. So more in Pennsylvania. Another statistical analysis shows roughly 300,000 Biden votes are actually questionable. Gateway Pundit, last week we produced an article which provided evidence that the election results in Pennsylvania included results that were almost impossible. Today we received another report covering the Pennsylvania election results, which supports our initial reporting that provides more information. We reported last week that there were anomalies in Pennsylvania's data after the 2020 election. President Trump won in a landslide on election day with roughly 2 votes to every 1 Biden vote. President won some 80% of the counties. In some counties, he won 80% of the vote. These results are reasonable to anyone who drove through Pennsylvania in the weeks and the days before the election. Wherever you went, Trump signage was everywhere. Then, when roughly 75% of the vote was counted, the state began counting the mail-in ballots. In this process, where their president received a consistent variance of his election day landslide across almost all counties. By the time they were done, Biden had somehow gained such a high portion of the mail-in ballots that he then led the race. The pattern we identified and how he got there was almost impossible. We now have come across another statistical survey of the results in Pennsylvania. We cannot provide the full content of this study at this time, but we can share a summary of the results which complemented our article from last week posted above. Several nationally recognized statistics experts were asked to examine the 2020 Pennsylvania voting records and to identify anything they deemed to be statistically significant anomalies. These experts were asked to work independently, and their efforts were compiled. Their one and only objective was to try to assure, she just woke herself up, to try to assure that every legal Pennsylvania vote was counted. Now, maybe she heard Matt. The primary takeaway from all the work is that all of these experts came to the same conclusion in the 5 areas. Number 1, there are some major statistical statistical aberrations in the PA voting records that are extremely unlikely to occur in normal unmanipulated setting. The anomalies almost exclusively happen with the Biden votes. Time and time again, using a variety of techniques, the Trump votes look statistically normal. 11 out of 67 Pennsylvania counties stood out from all the rest. These counties showed distinctive signs of voting abnormalities, again for Biden. The total number of suspicious votes in these counties is 300,000 plus, which greatly exceeds the reported margin of Biden votes over Trump. These statistical analysis do not prove fraud, but rather prove scientific evidence that the reported results are highly unlikely to be accurate in reflection of how Pennsylvania citizens voted. So there's much more to that, and I look forward to seeing it.
All right, I got a couple things I want to get to here in the comment section. So Sharon, who's in Pennsylvania, she says, I am so stressed out over this election. Don't be. All right, here's what you need to do. You need to be like Michelle. We are believing that Donald Trump is going to get inaugurated on January 21st, 2021. Okay? We aren't believing anything else.
Donald Trump will not be leaving the White House in 2021.
It's the Mexican word for the day.
Believing.
Donald Trump will not be leaving. All right, so, but it's not some sort of pie in the sky, like, I just need to believe this to calm my stress down. We actually have the evidence. It would take, and it's not outside the realm of possibilities because they managed to attempt to pull this off, right? It would take every judge that this all gets to be corrupt, to strike it down, to not receive evidence. I mean, it would take a Democrat miracle. All right, let's put it that way. It would take a Democrat Satan miracle to pull this off because there is so much evidence, and it has to be, and it had to be, because we have to expose this. When we were watching the elections of Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, when we were watching the elections for Marine Le Pen in France, we all felt in our bones that they were voted for, that they won those elections. Well, now we have to step back, and every nation is going to have to re-examine was this, especially, and obviously any nation that was using this software, okay? Then we have another comment here on Facebook from John. He says, I'm a progressive, no longer a Democrat. As such, I value election honesty and integrity, and I admire the work that you do. I agree with you that our election process is horrifically corrupt and that it was very probably rigged against President Trump. Be wary of the more exaggerated claims. The prior involvement of Venezuela in the history of software is most likely a CIA-style misdirection in order to direct attention into an extreme but phony background story so that it can be used to make fun of and discredit the genuine concerns of election fraud. I would disagree with you there,
but I'm not going
to throw it out, okay? Because Sidney Powell has the guy. Now, if the guy falls through, then you would be right. Did the CIA send a guy to come? However, Sidney Powell would not be putting all of her, that's what the Democrats actually do that. They put all their eggs in a PP-gate basket, right? Whereas Sidney Powell says, I've got all of this evidence to support the evidence of this man's testimony, right? Okay.
No, I really don't. It makes my stomach hurt.
Okay. But anyway, my point is, you could be right, but it would take massive effort. They would have to be shoving so much misinformation.
Let me throw this out there. I understand the CIA is trying to do crazy things in Venezuela.
But remember, Sidney Powell is already on the I don't trust the CIA. I know that they do that sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
Just keep that in mind.
Yesterday, the Pennsylvania
court
court
you for the comment. We love the progressives watching.
Invalidate 2,349 absentee ballots in Allegheny County where the voter did not date their declaration. I just want you to know there have been some votes thrown out there. That's a pretty significant number, by the way. It's also very significant that they were allowed in the first place. Detroit leaks video released court case that gave ballot observers close proximity to election workers was hidden from GOP's observers. So Michigan's radical Democrat Attorney General Dana Nessel sent a cease and desist letter to Big League Politics demanding they remove all stories, audio, and video related to the Detroit leaks, an undercover expose that revealed that Detroit poll workers were being trained in how to get away with voter fraud by ejecting GOP poll challengers and trained in how to destroy ballots. In the audio recordings, the election trainer can be heard telling the workers she's training challengers and poll watchers they have to wear a mask, they have to stay 6 feet. The election trainer explained how the 6 feet rule would keep poll challengers from being able to view what they're doing. That's important because they can come behind your table, but if you don't have 6 feet, they can't come back there. The trainee can be heard attempting to clarify what the trainer was saying. So the 6 feet back, unless they have really good vision, they can't actually see. Incredibly, the Wayne County elections trainer answers exactly. Unless they got really close vision or they brought their binoculars, she mocked. The election trainer told the workers to call 911 if the poll challengers make a scene.
Wow. So at best, or, at worst, I guess I should say, that proves an incredible bias from these poll workers.
In Detroit Leaks Part 2 reveals an October 28th settlement of a lawsuit filed by Republican House candidate Steve Carra of Three Rivers against Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and Director of Michigan Bureau of Elections Jonathan Brader that gave poll challengers the right to stand closer than 6 feet when necessary to observe the ballots, the poll book, or to make a challenge. The election observer blocked from the TFC Center in Detroit. The suit was settled in Michigan Court of Claims with Judge Cynthia Stevens presiding over the case. Judge Stevens asked the new directive be shared with poll workers by Election Day to the extent that it is necessary to stand in closer proximity to election workers to have a challenge heard, to observe the poll book, or perform any other legal duty. Challengers and poll watchers are permitted to do so, provided close personal interaction is as brief as possible. According to MLive, the settlement overrules the original director from the Secretary of State Jocelyn that said election workers can strictly enforce social distancing between challengers and poll workers. The new guidance allows close contact in necessary situations. Despite the lawsuit giving poll challengers the ability to stand closer than 6 feet when necessary, one of the most common complaints by GOP poll challengers who filed affidavits about the voter irregularities they witnessed at the TCF Center in Detroit is that they were not allowed to stand too close enough to view the absentee ballots. Shane Trejo told the Gateway Pundit, Detroit Leaks Part 2 shows how Democrats obscured their protocol to deliberately disenfranchise poll challengers on Election Day. This is the, and then there's a video.
You know, I find it really interesting when you see the videos of the press and everyone, like on the video that we played on our, you have to see the parody that Leah and I did 2 nights ago. It was amazing. It's hilarious.
You have to see
crack up. Leah plays a Democrat. You will laugh your head off. But in that video, I put a clip of them covering up the walls. Well, you see the press and you see all of these people, right? And they're kind of close together. None of them are 6 feet apart. So the fact that they want to exaggerate the fact that if you are a poll counter, right, a vote counter, and you are a poll watcher, you have to be 6 feet apart. But everybody else in the room can be close together.
Exactly.
No, Grandpa. Is this what you just read?
Yeah.
Oh, you can turn this on.
It's not playing.
Standards. Standards. They make a scene, give them a body there.
Pause right there. I think this is really important to note here, guys, that what you're witnessing is they were pre-training these poll counters, the vote counters, to be on the defensive, to be that the poll watchers were the enemy, that they really don't have a right to be there, that you're entitled to your 6 feet. You don't want them watching you. You don't want them watching your absentee ballot counting, right? They've already created them as the enemy.
All right, there's so much more to that. Just for the fun of it, you have to see that Joe Biden will not be your president, regardless of if he's the person that they inaugurate or not. Everything's fine here.
Talked about that in some detail. Thirdly, we discussed the need to help states with Title 32 funding for the National Guard. That's a fancy way of saying governors need to be able to get funding when they need to bring their National Guard into play. And National Guard's going to have to play this. It costs a lot of money. They talked about that in some detail.
I know Holly was barking when he got to his one there, but that wasn't the only.
We talked a lot about with the governors about what the immediate needs are. We're going to employ the Defense Reconstructed Act to be able to go out there and dictate companies build and do following things. We need much more testing. We need much more masking. We need gloves. I asked them east to go, and I asked the National Governors Association through the Governor Cuomo and the ones on the line to let us know what their shortages are.
We have no idea what he said. Michelle normally does a pretty good job at it. You want to try?
Employ the defense.
Impose, enforce, employ.
We talked a lot about with the governors about what the immediate needs are. Employ the Defense Reconstructed Act to be able to go out there and dictate companies build and do following things.
We want companies to build and do following things. We want them to build and do and following things.
Much more testing. We need much more masking. We need dictate companies build and do following things. We need much more testing. We need much more masking. We need gloves. I asked them east to go, and I asked the National Governors Association.
You asked them to east? and to West.
To the Governor Cuomo and the ones on the line to let us know
and the ones
what the
on
shortages
the line,
are.
Everybody's on the line. And the ones on the line from the East and the West, right down the line.
We're going to employ it.
We're going to dictate it.
Is that a word? Employ?
Well, yeah.
Like, I know, but like employ as employ people, but I don't think he meant employ.
I think you could use that word.
I don't think he was using it like that, like employ.
Somebody
people.
in the chat.
We talked a lot about with the governors about what the immediate needs are. We're going to employ the Defense Reconstructive Act to be able to.
How do you employ a Defense Reconstructive Act?
I think it just means to start something, doesn't it? Or
no, to employ is to be to hire.
No, I think that there's another definition of employ.
No, I don't believe so.
All right, well, we're gonna Google employ. I wonder how many other people are Googling this.
Okay.
To make use of the methods they have employed to collect the data. Yes.
We'll
it's
see.
okay.
I don't think you meant it that way.
It's okay, Joe.
Employ. No, we're going to do employ. I don't believe it. I don't believe it meant it that way.
The method. They're going to employ a method. This is he was what he was trying to say. You have to give him the one thing. All right. He messed up all the other ones. Let him have employ. He couldn't say it right to start with.
All right. So I'm going to read this thread to you. What you could probably do is get the food, put some cheese on it, and see what happens.
Okay.
Most of the time...
She's talking about for the dog. We're not bringing food for y'all with cheese.
Most of the time, the cheating in this election wasn't as simple as the votes going to one particular candidate. What they did was take votes from Trump and send them to third party, or take both from third and give them to Biden. So he calls this the pump and dump in Georgia. When he's looking at these numbers, they moved votes from Trump to Biden or third party, and then looted the third party and gave the votes to a Biden. So here, Trump lost, Trump to Biden, Trump to third, Biden lost, Biden to Trump, Biden to third, third party lost, third to Biden, third to Trump, Biden. And you can actually look at these numbers. Let's see. I think there's more to his thread here. Here's Virginia. This one's pretty strange, but regardless, the same pattern. This time they gave nearly all the third-party stolen votes to Biden. So Biden lost, Biden to Trump, 0 Biden to third, third party lost, third to Biden, third to Trump, Trump. So when you're seeing the numbers come in, you're seeing that they were at one number, and then they go down, and then they go up to Biden. Let's see. And then a little red state in Indiana. Here they didn't take a single vote from Trump, but they stole all the third-party votes and mostly gave them to Biden. So Biden lost, Biden to Trump, 0 Biden to third party lost, third party to Biden, third to Trump, and you can watch them go up and down that way. So this is so, in the same pattern in Pennsylvania, votes are moved from Trump and Biden to third party and then laundered to Biden through third party. No doubt they're doing this because most mainstream media doesn't cover the third party totals. And see, Trump lost, Trump to Biden, Trump to third, Biden lost, Biden to Trump, Biden to third, third party lost, third to Biden, third to Trump, and then Biden. And you can actually see that. Let's see. This is how the cheat happens. This is data from the New York Times election feed run through, a little script that tracks how the votes have moved. And then another one in Wisconsin. They pile it all up on the third party candidate, then bounce it back to Biden every time. So weird. So they take it from Trump, put it in the third party, and then take it from the third party, and the third party is losing votes, and then they're gaining them to Biden. That's crazy to me. Okay, you have to talk about the rejected ballots. Michigan rejected 1% of ballots in 2020 versus 0.4% in 2016. Pennsylvania rejected 0.3% this year versus 4.4% absentee ballots in 2016. Nevada halved their rejection rate from 1.6 to 0.75. Georgia rejected 0.2% in 2020 versus 3.1% in 2018. This requires investigation. This is totally would throw the election. Now, if you're thinking, didn't it just drop because we had more mail-in votes? The answer is no. Vote by mail increased from 2016 to 2018, and actually, guess what increased with it? Ballot rejections. The sudden drop in election in rejection rates, enough to flip elections, requires investigation. And that is where I'm staking my claim, and I'm putting my thing in. Knowing that I think it was in New York, because of the super mail-in ballots, there was a 24% rejection rate this year because there were so many mail-in ballots.
In the primaries.
But this year we're saying that, in the primaries, this year we're saying that with all the mail-in ballots, that people were so good with dating, signing, addresses, and everything, and signatures. Nevada lowered its signature verification to the point where there is no signature verification in Nevada. How do you make sure that the votes are who they belong to? There's no way. There's just no way. All right, what's the video I have up here? I'm not sure yet. All right.
Sidle.
So let Louis Gohmert explain his views on. It's not as great as you think. He kind of walks some stuff back, but I want him to say his piece on the Sidle and the Dominion software.
A history of voting irregularities in this country that are now attracting the attention of lawmakers on the Hill. One America's John Hines has more from Washington.
Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert tells One America News that a story about evidence of alleged vote manipulation by voting machine company Sidle, though accurate, may have left some viewers confused about what Gohmert actually said.
There was a story on One America News, and it was an accurate story, but it was written in a way which may have left people with the impression that you said something that you did not say about the Sidle system. So what did you say, sir?
Well, I'd said that this, just what I'd conveyed, numbers went in from the U.S. to Frankfurt, Germany, to the Sidle system, and come back to the U.S. And that was the data we needed, and that server was taken. And apparently the story conveyed, it made it look like I was talking about something about 410 electoral votes.
You never said anything about 410.
I never mentioned anything about that.
Indeed, he did not mention vote totals. Nevertheless, reports indicate that U.S. military forces may have raided Sidle's servers in Germany for evidence of vote manipulation in the 2020 U.S. election. And one unconfirmed report suggested the data from the server revealed a landslide victory for President Trump with 410 Electoral College votes.
OAN didn't say I said it, but the data was on the screen while I was talking. Somebody took that and ran with it. So I was talking about Sidle. Somebody else was conveying something about the electoral votes.
Which generated a lot of tweet traffic to the congressman's office, incorrectly ascribing a statement of a Trump victory to Gohmert. Nevertheless, Gohmert believes Sidle's history in Texas elections raises questions now following the most recent presidential contest.
Well, Sidle has been used, and we knew in Texas it was being used 2018, and it would aggregate votes, and that's what's provided to the media from Sidle. And there were issues that arose in 2018 in Texas through Dallas County. Some former intel group had gotten data that showed numbers were being manipulated. Serious stuff.
Serious stuff and potential illegalities which Gohmert believes the Texas Attorney General did not seriously address at the time, which would have prevented a lot of post-election confusion now.
And meanwhile, it appears that there is one of these servers somewhere in Germany, possibly, which may have misrepresented some votes in the election. Is that essentially what we're hearing, sir?
Well, and that is what our concern has been, because we know in 2018 there were votes changed, and we just didn't get law enforcement to act on it, and we could have saved the nation a lot of trouble. But this has been going on for a long time, going back to Venezuela days, in countries, third world countries even, where, you know, they steal elections. And apparently that has been uploaded and used in the United States, at least 2018, possibly 2019, some of the odd year elections.
Sidle says its solutions incorporate unique cryptographic protocols that ensure maximum security, transparency, and auditability in all types of elections.
We'll love an audit.
John Hines,
Can we
One
audit
American
that?
News, Washington.
Yes, please. All right. Breeze Babe says, I'm glad to have found you by searching the Wisconsin shooting and now subscribed. Well,
Thank you.
welcome. I'm
Wow.
glad that you're here.
Well, you may not enjoy this, but I'm going to play this just so that you can notice that Joe Biden's birthday, he's 78 years old. Keisha Lance Bottoms, today is his birthday, and he's 78. And I just would like for you to see
this is going to get
that
loud.
No one, I'll just turn it down. You don't need to hear anything. I don't want you to have to hear anything. But
oh wait, hang on. They're allowed to sing?
They can sing. Nobody has masks on. They're not social distancing. Everything okay?
It's Holly.
And then we're hugging. We're doing the Biden hug. So we sang. We hugged. We had tons of people in a crowded room, and nobody had masks on. Life continues on.
Now, it sounded to me, and it looks like to me, like there's a lot more than 10 people there, and they are from multiple households, and they want to tell you, you can't have Thanksgiving.
Well, no, what's so great about it is this is Georgia. So Georgia doesn't have those same kind of rules.
So it's okay in Georgia?
Yes, because they're going to kill people in Georgia.
So they decided to have, but can we all move our Thanksgiving to Georgia? And our birthday parties to Georgia?
Come here, baby.
And our weddings to Georgia? And our funerals to Georgia?
Mm-hmm. All right, I have some good news. Trump had a press conference today where he announced these groundbreaking lower prescription drug prices. I mean, it's actually huge. And I've been hearing that people have been experiencing this. They go in, they get their medicine, and it's like not even a quarter of what it used to be.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. One of the rules implements what is known as the most favored nation approach that limits what Medicare pays for medications to the lowest price paid by other economically advanced countries. The administration says it could save $28 billion for Medicare beneficiaries. And I wonder what the Democrats will do. Will they raise that back up if they try to get in office?
Excellent
The
question.
other rule would require drug makers to push rebates and discounts directly on the Medicare patients rather than to insurers and middlemen, pharmacy benefit managers. The Trump administration said the rule could potentially result in 30% savings for patients. Both rules are set to take effect on January 1st, although the pharmaceutical industry is expected to mount legal challenges to delay or to block the rules. The drug companies don't like me very much, but we had to do it. I just hope they keep it. I hope they have the courage to keep it. The drug industry's influential lobbyists are also expected to pressure Congress to reverse the rules through legislation. The industry is considering all options to stop this reckless attack on the companies working around the clock to beat COVID-19.
Let's point out something really important, and maybe you read this in the article, maybe you didn't, but what you need to understand with this most favored nations thing is we actually give a lot of money to these pharmaceutical, taxpayer dollars go to these pharmaceutical companies in order to fund the research for these massive drugs. And then what they do is they sell it in other nations for rock bottom, dirt cheap prices, and they sell it here in the United States for like some of the highest prices. Why is it that we are funding it with our taxpayer dollars and yet we pay more than, that's like if, your dad invented Oscar Mayer wieners and you got to pay more than everybody else for the hot dogs.
I have some good news, though. Here, more good news. Every county sheriff in LA region declines to enforce Gavin Newsom's coronavirus curfew.
Every
county sheriff in the LA region has reportedly declined to enforce the new near statewide curfew. Remember, Gavin Newsom, he ate a $400 plate dinner with people from like 6 different households, no social distancing, no mask worn, indoors, everything he's going to mandate that you do, and he wants to put you in jail for something. And he's like, no, these rules are not for me. Not for me, it's for you. It's to control you. Don't you understand? This is a new world order. So, Fox LA says, we've now heard from every sheriff in our Southern California viewing area. San Bernardino, Orange County, Ventura County, and Riverside counties will not actively enforce the curfew law. LA Sheriff will take a voluntary compliance education first approach, will not make any arrest related to the order. We've heard from the sheriffs. We are now starting to hear from the city police departments about the curfew. Ontario and Laguna Beach PD say they will not actively enforce the order, seeking voluntary compliance. Costa Mesa and Irvine PDs will take part in the enforcement. Good for you in Costa Mesa. Yeah. I just wanted you guys to know there are some, when it comes to a lot of these things, you're not going to have the sheriffs and the police enforcing this. John James calls on Michigan Board of Canvassers to delay vote certification, investigate ballot counting. He is a senator from Michigan. He was leading in the polls. He was a senator. They had called the race. And then Michigan, Detroit.
Just kept finding votes.
Yeah, he said investigate the allegations to be extended for 2 weeks to provide a more complete review of the certification. James challenged Democrat incumbent Gary Peters' unofficial results, showing him at the same lead difference with Donald Trump. The Republican asked to take until December 7th to investigate claims of dozens of observers who have filed affidavits alleging fraud, ballots being counted multiple times, and procedures not followed during the counting process in Detroit. I submit this request because I am interested in the truth and protecting the integrity of the elections. Sometimes the truth takes time to surface, and it's rarely easy to get to. Time is the most valuable asset we have at this stage, and I ask that we take all the time reasonable and allowed not to determine our election, but to improve them and to boost public confidence in the results of the election. We also have state canvassers are scheduled to meet Monday, November 23rd to consider certifying the results. County canvassers have already approved the results. There was chaos in Wayne County. We agree the people of the state of Michigan deserve election outcomes that they can trust. In order to maintain that trust, the state owes both ballot access and ballot integrity. And then we'll see where Michigan goes.
So, Jesus, if you're correct, that would be all. Rittenhouse was released.
I think it's $2 million bond.
Wow.
So he still has to go to trial, and yeah, but he's out.
But at least he's out.
Mom. Yeah, for now. Yeah, just keep him in your prayers for real. All right, so there's some catty conversation going between Ilhan Omar and the new chick entering, I forget her name, and Kelly Loeffler, who is trying to get into the Georgia Senate. So Ilhan Omar says blatant lies from the disastrous insider trading, QAnon and conspiracy supporting fear-mongering appointed Kelly. Pro tip: to win an election, you run on ideas, debate your actual opponent, and defend your record, not run against the squad. And then she said some swear words. Ilhan, we saw the video of you smiling and laughing while talking about Al-Qaeda and 9/11. We know you funneled millions of dollars to your new husband's consulting firm. We also know you're an unabashed anti-Semite. You should be expelled from Congress.
I just had her name. I saw her response. Oh, what is her name, guys? We just covered her on the March last Saturday. But anyway, her response, she was like, we know you married your brother.
We don't do that here in America. All right, so here's Sidney Powell with Glenn Beck.
Trump has kept his promises to be the guy who is the warrior for the American people. He's been almost entirely alone in that effort. And in my point of view, he has earned the trust, at least from me, and I think trust from all of his voters, to allow you to play this game the way you see fit, to talk to the press or not talk to the press. Your job is to win a court case. Can you tell us when this is going to be filed and where it's going to be tried?
No, I can't right now. We're going to have to file several lawsuits. It's going to be in all the swing states. We are still gathering massive amounts of evidence to the point we haven't even had time to process all of it. People are drafting affidavits for us right and left. Patriotic Americans are coming forward from every corner of the country, and some people even internationally. They are fed up with the corruption.
I can't go to any source to get the truth online. How can we find these things?
Well, we will start putting documents online, and sending them to people like you as soon as we possibly can. I would hope that we could start that by this weekend. We've just been taking in information, not just through a fire hose. It started through a fire hose, and then it became a tsunami. And some people, of course, don't want their names disclosed. They have all kinds of fears. We have people around the country with security now that they've never had before just because they dared to tell the truth.
You're building the most important case. If half or 25% of what you guys said yesterday turns out to be true, this is the biggest crime in American history.
Right.
And you don't put that together in 2 weeks. Do you have time to make this?
In the world.
It's the biggest crime in the world.
Yeah, in history. Do you have time to this?
I think we can get it done. In fact, we already have collected more evidence than probably half the prison population is in prison for right now. It's just a matter of tying it together in a way that's digestible. And we're in the process of doing that as we speak. And I'm hoping we get something filed by next week that starts outlining and proving the overall fraud.
So let me give you an example.
There was that clip is as a shorter clip. All right, we don't have time to play the whole thing, but you guys can go and watch the rest of that interview on Glenn Beck's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes long.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Somebody comes in, robs your store. You give them a description. There's a lineup. You may not find what they stole. 8 guys. That's the guy. You're going to put on a witness stand. That's the guy. Jury says, do they believe you or not?
Right.
We have, in Michigan, 6 witnesses saying that they saw ballots come in at 4:30 in the morning. And we have, if you guys, and here's the thing, there has been so much that it's buried. And I wish I had, I have a Twitter feed, but I wish I had a page where you could just click, okay? But we have played for you one, I didn't play for you that there was an Asian woman, there was like an Indian woman, and there were these like multicultural people in Detroit who were just representing the Republican side, I think, to make some money.
Yeah.
Right? And they wanted to be part of the election process and just observe. I don't even think they were voters. I don't even know they were American citizens. All of them had accents. Right? But they felt, I think because they were foreigners, they felt it was important, what they were doing. And then what they weren't allowed to do as poll watchers, right?
And what Leah's getting to is they testify.
There we go. Here's my finishing my sentence.
No, I'm not finishing. Okay. I'm just adding so that
no,
they know what's coming.
That's exactly what's getting to.
Okay.
So they know what's coming?
Yes.
So they testified, okay, to what they saw and what they heard. One of the Asian ladies said that she was there and they wouldn't allow them anywhere near. And they counted really, really slow, and then they said there were no ballots left, and they were in there for hours. And if a Republican left to pee, to get food, to do anything,
they wouldn't let them back in.
And then when all the Republicans were out, then they counted that 100,000 ballots.
Now remember, these are credentialed poll watchers. These are not just random people that you actually do have the right to kind of go in and observe from a distance.
There's observers, and then there's people that have training and they get a little badge.
Yeah, and they weren't letting the badged people back in.
So, and they said, this is our house. And then you heard the Detroit League saying, it was a game to them.
Yeah.
You just leave, and we're going to make sure the tables are so close that you can't get within 6 feet. Yep. That's why they put the tables so close. And then they had a court order in Pennsylvania, and they wouldn't even allow Trump's attorneys to get in, Pam Bondi. Yeah. This is the greatest
Where is she, by the way?
That's a really good question.
I'm sure she's still working. It's just because we don't see her out there doesn't mean...
All right, so I like this thread from Scott Adams. Democrats are employing some excellent brainwashing technique to defend their election as fair. And Scott Adams has actually kind of been fair with all this, and as he drops things, it's very interesting to see where he's landed on, right? Here are some of their tricks. Refuses to concede is making you think past the sale that Trump's legal challenges will fail. This is their main persuasion trick. Audit is being used to make a simple recount of alleged fraudulent ballots seem as if they could potentially find all types of fraud, which a recount is not designed to do. When no fraud is found, because they are not looking, they will declare it proof that there was no fraud. That's what happened in Georgia, even though they didn't expect to find all the extra ballots. That wasn't supposed to happen because they just were recounting the votes through the machine. They weren't even hand counting, by the way. They weren't even looking at them. They weren't matching signatures. No evidence is being used to reframe plenty of evidence, but not yet proven in court. Okay? No widespread fraud is a defense against the allegation of targeted fraud in specific swing states. This is misdirection aimed at low information voters, which is most of the public. Massive fraud would be obvious if it happened, so therefore it didn't happen. This ignores the entire nature of the allegation, that it is totally obvious to about half the country. No one believes Biden got far more votes than Obama.
Or Hillary.
Trump lawsuits are being tossed out of court. The fake news does not tell you the strongest evidence of fraud has not been yet presented to the courts. The first lawsuits were probably just to keep the fraud argument alive while the lawyers dug up the good stuff. Character assassination by bad analogy. The fake news is labeling Trump's legal challenges to the election as McCarthyism, racism, and the work of a dictator staging a coup. All of that is fear persuasion based on bad analogies. Experts and trusted media say no fraud has been detected. What they leave out is that they were not looking for it, and in some cases the people responsible for preventing the election fraud are just saying they did a terrific job. That is misdirections.
And that's what we're hearing. We're hearing all of those come out. So I'm glad that he addressed those because it's really important.
Greg Kelly, if you guys don't watch him, you can watch him on Newsmax.
He's so great.
Like at 7 o'clock, I think. You can't steal something this big and get away with it.
That's good.
The media may not care. Heck, most of them seem to be in on it. But a much higher power,
come on,
one we all know, sees everything and he can do anything. It's not over.
Stand by. I love him so much. He's so great. I want to be friends with him.
Yeah, me too. All right, and then here is where Victor Joex, Las Vegas Review Journal, says that he's, well, just listen.
Joining me now is Victor Jakes, the columnist of the at the Las Vegas Journal Review, who I just mentioned. Victor, thanks for being here tonight. Good to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
So what did you do? What was your experiment?
Well, I wanted to test the accuracy of signature verification, and I had 9 volunteers, and what happened is I signed their name as it appeared on the ballot. I took a picture of it and I sent it to them, and then they copied my signature onto their ballot return envelope. That's how it was legal, but it was still a test. It wasn't their signature. It was simulating what would have happened if I had found their ballots in the trash and decided to submit them. And 8 of the 9 ballots went through. So signature verification, which had been built up as this infallible security measure, had an 89% failure rate.
Joining me.
So, how did he get away with that and it be legal?
Okay, he looked at somebody's name.
Yeah.
And he signed it. And he said, you're going to send in your ballot. You sign your name the way I would have signed it. It's still their signature. It's still their way they're doing it.
Oh, okay.
It's still their pen in hand. But it was the way he would have done it, not the way they signed their name.
Okay.
Signature verification means nothing. Have you been to the grocery store? ... You
oh my
don't even have to press anything. You can put
I
an
had
X.
to sign an iPad to when I went to vote, right?
Yeah.
And they literally, and I said I had to sign that, and I have long fingernails, and so I'm signing it with like the flat part of my fingernail.
They didn't look
and
at
I
the
was
signature.
like, I even laughed. I said, that's not really my signature, and they were like, it doesn't matter.
They used to look at the signatures.
You used to sign the book. You literally, your name was in the book, and then you would sign it, and it was right next to your name, so they could do a comparison.
Signature match.
Oh my god.
They don't do them anymore.
And your driver's license is signed the exact same way. Well, okay, I had a pen because I just went and got my driver's license last week, or this week. I had a pen, but they make the tips finer. Why does it have to be so big and fat?
Kylie McEnany tweeted this out. I will never forget listening to these lyrics alongside our great President Donald Trump's 2 weeks before the election. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
Listen, this man is surrounded. I know y'all people think he's still got a lot of deep staters in the administration. There may be some, okay? But he is surrounded by like closet prayer warrior Christians, okay? Yeah. I guarantee you a lot of what's going on behind the scenes right now are prayers with the president, for the president, hands being laid on the president.
So Alex Jones and Ollie, they've been in Georgia. They've been pumped up. They've been trying to stop the steal, trying to get Governor Kemp not to sign. Governor Kemp did sign. It feels like a blowback. But people are not giving up. And I just wanted you to hear what Ollie has been saying, because he's really in it to win it, okay? This is bigger than the Civil War. We have never faced a moment like this. Constitution will be an outline, but nowhere in territory that we're not prepared for. What you believe will come to the surface. Apocalyptic. I have faith in God. We have not come this far for no reason.
Good.
And I want you guys to hear Rudy Giuliani talk about the election worker who was told to backdate ballots.
4 affiants here. Those are people who give affidavits.
No, this is the other one. Sorry, this is 4 affidavits who swear to seeing this truck come up at 4:30 in the morning.
4 affiants here. Those are people who give affidavits. Report an incident that under any other circumstances would have been on the front page of all your newspapers if it didn't involve the hatred that you have, the irrational, pathological hatred that you have for the president. What they swear to is that at 4:30 in the morning, a truck pulled up to the Detroit Center where they were counting ballots. The people thought it was food, so they all ran to the truck. It wasn't food. It was thousands and thousands of ballots. And the ballots were in garbage cans, they were in paper bags, they were in cardboard boxes, and they were taken to the center. They were put on a number of tables. At that time, they thought all the Republican inspectors had left, all but 2 had, and an employee of Dominion.
And I think it's because Detroit had so many multicultural Republican people. So one woman who was the Indian woman who she went on camera. She's like, they thought I was one of them.
Right.
Who we will address a little bit later. Dominion.
And a Dominion employee.
Here's what they jointly swear to.
A Dominion employee jointly
that
swears
every
to this.
ballot that they could see, everything they could hear, these were ballots for Biden. When they saw a ballot, these were ballots only for Biden, meaning there was no down ticket, just Biden. Many of them didn't have anything on the outer envelope because these ballots were produced very quickly, very swiftly, and they're estimated to be a minimum of 60,000, maximum of 100,000. Many of them were triple counted, which means they were put into the counting machine this way. Once, twice, 3 times. I didn't see that. I don't know that, but for the fact that 3 American citizens are willing to swear to it.
Under penalty of perjury, which is still a big deal in this country, by the way.
Here's the thing. They thought all the Republicans were gone. Okay? And these 2 people came forward, plus a Dominion employee. What were they supposed to do? Because you're not allowed to take pictures. Right. And you're not allowed to get your phone out.
Yeah.
And so they're saying it's not a crime because you didn't catch it on video. But guess what, guys? There have been crimes throughout all history. And guess what? We haven't always had cell phones. And have
the Bible itself says on the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses.
You know, humans have been around for a good 6,000 years. Are all crimes only committed when a cell phone is there?
Right.
When a camera is there? For the past 100 years, have we always had cameras? Have we always had cell phones? Do we go to... Why are we the people on the internet who say the only evidence I want to see is a cell phone or a picture?
Right.
What kind of world are we living in? No crime has ever happened by somebody's testimony. It didn't happen.
Not that it didn't happen, but if you can't prove it, then it didn't
happen.
Then they're not saying that. I'm talking about the people on the right. Like
I'm talking
Walsh
about people on the left.
Okay.
I'm talking about the people on the left. That didn't happen if you can't prove it by saying it. And here's the thing: there's no way to prove it until we look at the ballots and there's an audit.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus.
And that's what needs to happen. That's what's going to have to happen.
A
and
full
you guys are going to have to
audit
be
in
patient.
Detroit.
We are going to continue to bring you this coverage because every day it's going to unfold. Something big is going to come out, but it is going to come down to, especially in Michigan, an audit, an actual audit of the votes. Georgia did not get an audit. We were told that we were getting an audit. We did not get an audit.
Yeah. Yeah, we played this last. PBS went to Georgia 1 week before the election, and what they found was shocking. We played that video for you guys already. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Law firm Kirkland and Ellis withdraws from representing the Democrat Pennsylvania Secretary of State after one of its associates threatened Trump attorney.
Wow.
So the law firm Kirkland and Ellis withdrew from representing Pennsylvania Secretary of State on Friday. Trump's lawyers have been harassed and threatened for the crime of representing the President of the United States. Last week, the anti-American hacks of the Lincoln Project docked and harassed two of President Trump's Pennsylvania lawyers, prompting them to withdraw from a voter fraud case. Last week, one of President Trump's lawyers had her life threatened after she filed a civil rights lawsuit to ensure a clean election in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia lawyer Linda Kearns said in a Sunday night court filing that she was harassed and threatened by a lawyer working for Kirkland and Ellis. Since this case was filed, undersigned counsel has been subjected to continuous harassment in the form of abuse, emails, phone calls, physical and economic threats, and even accusations of treason, all for representing the President of the United States campaign in this litigation, wrote Kearns in her filing. On November 14th, 2020, at 8:43 a.m., an attorney at Kirkland and Ellis left a 1-minute voicemail for undersigned counsel. The voicemail, which has been provided to counsel of record from Kirkland and Ellis, in this case, and will be provided to the court via email upon request, speaks for itself and by any measure falls afoul of standards of professional conduct. And breaking, Kirkland and Ellis withdraws from representing Pennsylvania Secretary of State. So this is getting a little bit juicy, right? Kirkland and Ellis associate engaged in behavior that could lead to disbarment.
Shoot.
But for not only the associate, but for the partners.
Oh, wow.
Of this firm. K&E tried to play the "it's not our fault" game, but that's not how the law works, said Mike Cernovich. The Kirkland and Ellis associate engaged in behavior that could lead to disbarment for not only the associate, but several partners. K&E tried to play the "it's not our fault" game. I just read that. Sorry. The court still has done nothing in response to Trump campaign lawyers asking for sanctions. Let's see. I think that's it. Sorry.
No, that's still huge. We heard about it. We knew that these lawyers were being threatened, and now we know that the law firm that was the one doing the threatening has backed out of representing the Pennsylvania, what was it, Secretary of State?
Yeah, the Pennsylvania Secretary of State's own lawyers were calling the Trump lawyers, harassing them, doxing them, or I don't know, and threatening them, calling and even saying it's treason what they're doing.
Wow. So
they could be disbarred. That's some good news. That's some good news. You know, to see somebody get a little bit of justice, you know, it's not too bad. That's something good. Okay. All right. I think that's the end of our show.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent show. Excellent show. I want you guys to watch our parody. Okay. Patriot Gallery had asked Leah if maybe Valentina Fraudulente could explain some of these things to us. Leah. Patriot Gallery. She's banging on the floor again to let us know. Nutslow says, keep the faith. Thank you. All right. So we go live every Friday at 6 p.m. for a weekly roundup of news. We go live every Sunday at 1 p.m. for world news, okay? But since the election, I think we have done a show almost every single day since before November 3rd.
I think we have.
Trying to bring you guys the latest of everything. I am so excited. Once all of this goes to court, it's going to become the left, unfortunately, because they don't do the research. They don't give you the information on the mainstream media or even in any of their articles. They actually lie.
Yeah.
They are wholly unprepared for what is coming.
So
those of us on the right, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of us that have been digging deep and getting to the facts, are going, oh my gosh, these people are going to lose their mind. And it's on purpose. The disinformation of lying about the facts and the evidence that's all right there, that's all about to come out, is meant to play a mind game so that their own people on the left are going to riot in the streets once this stuff comes out. Now, the 30% of people, the Democrats that you said that believe, that the poll came out that it's likely, they'll be fine. But the other 60% that have no idea that this is coming because the mainstream media has said, Biden won, there's no evidence. When the evidence comes out...
This is big. Let me show you something really big.
They're going to lose it.
This is big.
They will lose it.
This is big. One more
story.
Oh,
and Bob. We forgot Bob. We have to get to Bob.
One more story here for me. Just let me tell my story.
But...
Okay, Bob Bobsled.
We'll do Bob.
Okay.
2 more stories then.
Okay, so here's Dominion... Sidney Powell is talking about Smartmatic because Smartmatic is tied to Venezuela. So Dominion is trying to distance itself from Smartmatic.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. So Smartmatic has tweeted out, it is a false statement. Smartmatic does not own Dominion voting systems and has never provided Dominion with any technology. Smartmatic has never had any ties with any government or political groups anywhere in the world.
That was on the 14th.
Now, that is why people lie and sell companies, and that's what Hunter Biden was doing.
Sure.
I never did that.
Right.
But in December 2007, Smartmatic announced the sale of their Sequoia voting systems to Dominion voting systems. Okay? Smartmatic published a press release announcing their sale of their Sequoia voting systems as shown below. And it says a leading voting technology provider, Sequoia Voting Systems, is pleased to announce the sale of the company to a group of private U.S. investors led by Sequoia's current executive management team. And then it goes on to say, December 22nd, 2006, Smartmatic Corporation announced the company's intention to sell Sequoia voting systems. Smartmatic owned Sequoia. Okay, at the time, Smartmatic CEO Antonio Mugita stated Sequoia's customer base has grown substantially and its revenues have increased fourfold. However, given the current climate of the United States marketplace, with so much public debate over foreign ownership of firms in an area that is viewed as critical U.S. infrastructure or election technology, we feel it is in both companies' best interest to move forward as separate entities with separate ownership. As part of this process, we plan to sell our Sequoia voting systems ownership. Do you see how this works?
Yeah.
And then Dominion Voting Systems in 2010 acquire Sequoia. All right, Dominion and Smartmatic have both tried to erase their ties by deleting the original press releases from their websites. Many publications linked to Wikipedia articles for Sequoia Voting and Smartmatic are now erased from the internet, but you can still use archive.org to view them as they were when they posted the article. Many articles correlate this. Many mainstream news articles also address Dominion purchasing Sequoia, although never naming Smartmatic as the parent company owner of Sequoia. So
that's amazing.
There you have that.
That's really good. Now tell them about Bob. Do we have some clips? Can we go to Jack's page? All right. So 2-3 nights ago, remember when we came to you and we were talking about them wanting to change the rules? Was it just last night?
No, it was 2 nights ago.
Okay, 2 nights ago. They want to change the rules in Wisconsin for counting, for the recount. All right. So the Board of Elections meets together in a public Zoom meeting. Jack Posobiec streams it live for like 45 minutes. And he was so funny. And because it was live and we were participating in it live, he kept referring to these people like he knew them. And then the people on the left wanted to have all these restrictions and COVID. And then Bob, right? And Bob comes in and Jack starts tweeting out like Bob is the savior of the republic and all this stuff. And it was just so funny. And it went viral. Bob went from having 500 Twitter followers. How many people does he have right now?
I don't know now. I'm not sure how many Bob has. I'm still trying to go back because he's been tweeting out a lot.
Jack does tweet out a lot. It was just 2 nights ago, though.
I know, but it's still...
But anyway, he went to having, like, the last we saw it was, like, 25,000 followers. Okay? But now Bob has gone viral. And now he's going to... And he came back and he thanked Jack. And at one point Jack had said something like release the bobsled or something. So he came back, Bob comes back and he's like hashtag bobsled, and he's just some regular guy in the Board of Elections. You need to
We're almost there.
We can't be almost there. It's like it's taking too long.
I don't know, it was like 24 hours ago? So
it would have to have been 2 days ago because it wasn't just last night.
Gosh.
Can't you just put Jack Bob?
I don't know. Maybe I could do hashtag bobsled.
Hashtag bobsled.
So Bob Spindle. He now has 50,000 followers.
50? He doesn't even have a picture.
No, last time he tweeted was July 16th. So he says to all the love that he got, somebody got to him. Thank you, Jack Posobiec, for tuning in to the Wisconsin Election Commission meeting last night. I appreciate your kind words and all the hard work you do. I will keep you up to date on all the interesting things happening in the Wisconsin recount.
Hashtag bobsled.
So Jack Posobiec, Bob Spindle, all aboard the bobsled. Shout out to my friend Bob Spindle for really kicking booty today at the Wisconsin Election Commission committee meeting. 2 guys from Milwaukee are going to save this country. We will not go silent tonight. We will not be vanquished without that. So what they were trying to do was supposedly, Wisconsin has some really good rules for recounts, and yeah, we're hedging a lot of bets. You know, I feel like we should not go to Las Vegas right now. Okay. So we're hedging a lot of bets on this Wisconsin recount. And I don't want people to be deflated if we don't hit 777 when we pull down the bar. Because that's what we're looking for. But no, there's a little bit more to it than that. And we believe these numbers are there, and believe we'll find them.
Feel the rhyme. Watch out, world, it's bobsled time.
Right in Wisconsin, where it should be. So last minute, they wanted to change the rules to make it almost impossible to challenge the ballot. The only way this recount is going to work is if the Trump campaign can challenge ballots. That's how we get. How we get them down.
Right.
Okay, because the Trump campaign is going in there not for a recount. Okay, to challenge ballots. That's the whole point. Right. And that's a significant number, but we do know that a significant number of people didn't sign their things correctly and things like that.
Somebody says, watching Jack Posobiec narrate the Wisconsin Recount Commission was so entertaining. I'm rewatching it this morning. Best entertainment in a while, somebody says.
He even had...
there it is. There's the bobsled time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you on his wall. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is up there on the top.
Yeah,
all right.
It's just here.
Jack's rendition of it has to be somewhere, though.
It's got to be.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
No, these are old, so I can't find Jack's.
Can't you just put can't you put Jack Posobiec like for the searching? All right, you guys are gonna have to do the digging if Leah can't find it.
There's so many people are posting so many things. It's hard to even go back. Let's see. My question is, Republican Bob Swindoll, a Republican appointee to the Wisconsin Election Commission, says Democrats are afraid that black voters will choose Kanye West over Joe Biden. My question is, when are they going to stop suppressing the black vote? That's so funny that he said
just
that.
Scroll down and just look for a video. Is that a video?
No.
There it is. There it is. Play that.
Okay.
There it is. Wait. That's Ann. That's Bob.
We have no volume.
Hang on, I just turned it on.
No, but this has to go up.
Get a minute. Give it a second.
Oh, wait. No, that's not what I want.
Okay. Discussion on the motion.
Wait.
For setting us up for the real life Hunger Games. Look at this. Look at how your country is run. Look at how your country is run.
We have the absentee ballot here, and then we put it on a flat and let the person look at it without touching it, and then bring it back. Maybe we need some sort of guidance there too, because this is a very complicated situation to allow people
So the one thing that happened before, somebody was made a point. They go, you can't do that. And they said, well, we think there might be some bad ballots in. But this is what's been alleged by the president. These are baseless conspiracy theories. And he said, well, yeah, I know. Well, we know that they're baseless. We haven't started doing the investigation yet. We want to look into it. No, we're not going to do any investigation.
I've been reading.
Let's fast forward to some more parts where there's Bob. What's that?
No, this is ridiculous. All you and Dean keep talking about is these evil Democrats are going to do something nasty so that these honest, hardworking Republicans aren't going to be able to see what's going on.
Julie's slapping the table. She's slapping the desk. She's losing it.
We need to look at this in terms of, even though we're partisan,
keep it together, Julie. Keep it together.
I know you guys can't hear her very well. Jack's like filming it with his cell phone.
It keeps going.
Bob said it was 3 pages.
It's in the one.
Thank you, I see it.
Wisconsin.org, Wisconsin Elections Commission. This is how our republic works. Folks.
Okay, they've seen enough. We don't have any good spots of Bob.
The recount has already been ordered by one of the candidates, who was duly on the ballot, of course, that's his right. He paid the money. He was asking for it. That of course was Donald J. Trump. And now they're trying to change the rules at the last minute. So we're going to go back and we're going to see.
I understand things.
Hang on. There's a good spot.
Have this kind of video of himself.
I am lucky to.
Who grew up in
the absentee ballot envelope. And maybe I'm not, making that clear, but I think that's what we need to have in there. That we want you to maintain these safety procedures, but also that doesn't mean that you can do something to stop the representatives of the candidate from being able to view each and every absentee ballot envelope clearly.
Sure you can, Bob. I mean, why can't you say you need to step back a foot for public health guidance? But the reason it's balancing is if an observer says, I have to be right next to you to see it.
Let's talk about the representative. I'm more concerned about the representative.
Right, but if the representative says, I can only see if I am
the shoulder of the person carefully each of the absentee envelopes. If I'm there observing and I've been instructed by my
she must sit in laps at nighttime.
Supervisor or campaign organization
And ensure that it is right to view ballots and materials.
Hang on, we're gonna get to a good spot.
We already said that up the first paragraph.
discussion on the motion. Commissioner Grayson.
individual.
To
I think that's necessary. Why isn't it just what we have above?
Listen to Bob. Why? Why are you doing that? Why?
Why?
Answers now.
So the types of questions that come from first, for example,
Bob is the Kraken.
Refuses to wear a mask and insists on continually going over to someone and putting their head over their shoulder. Can they tell them that you can't do that? And if they keep doing that, can they ask them to leave? And I believe the answer is yes, that if the Board of Canvassers can...
I'm just wondering, do you think it's necessary to have as established in there, refusals to comply with reasonable health safety precautions? And then what do we have to have as established by the board?
It gives them the answer.
Now, I wanted you guys to see, and I don't know why I didn't have Leah pull this up, but it's in my thumbnail. With honestly, Leah, if I slept through it, I feel bad, but you had me make my whole thumbnail on the recount in Wisconsin, and we didn't really talk about it at all. It looks like it's going really well because they've got a plexiglass and they're holding up the ballot for 2 people to look at. It ended up being really well organized.
Okay, so this is what ended up after Bob. They got plexiglass and every ballot is looked at, and I'm hoping that the envelopes will be looked at. Plexiglass is in place thanks to Bob Swindoll, and there are 2 representatives and they're all going to look at the ballots. It's all going to look at the ballots. And so there's a lot right now with the Wisconsin recount.
Right.
So let's see what Jack has to say for the what's going on here.
I don't know if we have any latest on the actual shooting that happened at the mall either.
Shooter is reportedly a white male believed to be in his 20s or 30s, according to the Wauwatosa police chief. She probably has to go to the bathroom at this point. Barry Weber. An image of the shooter shows him wearing what appears to be a face mask, holding what appears to be an assault rifle. So here we have an image of the shooter. Wauwatosa police reporting that 7 adults and 1 teenager were injured in the shooting at the Mayfair Mall, and that they are still working to confirm the identity of the shooter, who remains at large. Update, police in Wisconsin say that 8 people were injured at the shooting in Milwaukee Mall, and they're still seeking the suspect. Let's see. A Donald Trump rally is set to take place at the Mayfair Mall tomorrow, November 21, 11 a.m. Yeah. So, don't know who that was about. Let's see. Jack Posobiec has a movie out, Antifa the movie, and if you guys want to see exactly how Antifa started, and it's called Antifa, Rise of the Black Flags. The Wisconsin recount was covered. It's, obviously, I don't know, maybe they took a break for today, but I wanted to, let's see, multiple people reported shot. Yeah, I meant to bring up all this. The Wisconsin recount is underway. So
we missed the whole segment of the show.
Compare Wisconsin, okay, to Philadelphia.
Yeah, with the binoculars.
Wisconsin, Philadelphia. Now, why this is important? Well, it's very, very important. But this is what we call transparency. This is what should have happened at the beginning.
Right.
I don't want to put eggs in a basket and then we have no eggs and we can make no cake. But this is what I told a friend of mine. I'm hoping, and I don't know, but I'm hoping that the Wisconsin recount turns up things that are significant. Because if they do find the numbers that we're looking for, and there's so many other aspects of this, Republicans' ballots who weren't counted and different things like that, it will set a precedent for how this should be done. And even if not, this should set a precedent for how a recount needs to be done in Pennsylvania, and how a recount has to be done in Detroit. Okay?
Yes, it has to be done in Detroit
and
that way.
People will demand this. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it will. I think it would really turn the tides. I think the whole idea of Wisconsin is going to turn the tides. This is Matt Brainard, and here Matt Brainard is the guy who put together the numbers, and he's breaking down the numbers.
Now, to be clear, when we're talking about counting the ballots, and we talk about hand counting the ballots, they're not like you and I. If you ever try to count something, money to deposit, and you just keep getting it wrong, no matter how many times you count, if you've got like 120s,
okay,
if you got 101s, you're going to count them wrong. What they do is they look at the ballot and they decide what stack it goes in.
Okay, wait. This is
and then the stacks get counted by machines.
Now, if the numbers still don't turn out right in Wisconsin, I'm going to tell you why they did it, and I'm hoping that they will. And it's because in Wisconsin, they make it very difficult to vote by mail, to get an absentee ballot. They don't want you to do it, okay? But they have this one type of absentee ballot, and it's called indefinitely confined, and COVID does not create this status. Okay, indefinitely confined, people who don't need to show a driver's license or something like that because they're indefinitely confined. Below are the absentee ballots this election and the year the voter initially claimed this status. So from the years 2010 to 2019, anywhere from a low end of 600 to a high end of 4,800, but that was in 2019.
To a high end of 14,000.
14,000 in 2018. So then 2018 there was 14,000. Look at this number. 169,000 for the indefinitely confined.
I'm gonna make
that
this
has
dark so you guys,
never been in a presidential election before.
Right.
Okay? And so I actually believe that that number in 2014 and possibly in 2016 was going up and up from 2012, possibly because the Democrats were onto something and trying to get those numbers up, and then they finally got those numbers up in 2020. That is huge.
Well, but it shouldn't surprise you that there's a spike in 2018 because those were primary, or because those were the midterms.
Right. But when you look back at the election, why would the midterms have 14,000 and the election have 8,000? When you go back to this election,
because they've always tried to up it, and
that's what I'm saying. I'm
agreeing with you.
Yeah, they always tried to up it. They always tried to up it. They always tried to up it. So Wisconsin, those numbers are going to be really skewed. Of those numbers, Trump won. Mm-hmm. Those indefinitely confined.
Right.
We know that they were going to people in nursing homes. You know that people were doing in insane asylums, in all kinds of stuff like that. And then so okay, we can be done now.
All right, now maybe you could just. I don't want to pull it up on my system. Pull up, since you might not be in the mood to do it live. Just pull up, and we're going to play them a little clip so they can go.
Oh,
and
I
watch
can do
the
it
rest
live.
of it.
Ask me any questions.
Okay. All right. I don't have my microphone.
Okay. If you had one question that you would like to ask a Democrat,
leave it
about
in the
the
chat.
Election or anything.
Right.
Leave it in the chat, and I will answer you as a Democrat.
Now, if you guys missed out the hilarious parody that we did 2 nights ago, we uploaded it.
We need to put the link in the chat.
Patriot Gallery, I think Artie is going to put the link in the chat. Please go and watch it. Leah, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We don't watch our shows back. It's difficult to watch them back. We just don't ever do it. This one, we watched back several times because it was
fun.
So
you got to have an honest Democrat. If a Democrat answered honestly, what would you ask a Democrat? If you had one thing to ask a Democrat.
Okay,
do
Leah,
you like black dogs?
Well, Leah,
I do, because their name is Holly.
Well, the actual Democrat answer for that would be, I think that sounds racist.
That's right.
So, what do you feel about the push to gender neutralize schools with allowing boys in girls' bathrooms and boys to play sports on the girls' teams?
Well, this is just all part of an effort to confuse people and to get, if we're just being honest, we want to lower the population, okay? And in the 1960s, we had this book and we tried to tell you guys there's going to be this population bomb. It didn't actually happen like we wanted. We wanted people to, have less kids so that we can enjoy our life on our big yachts. Okay, we want stuff for us. Okay, me and Bill Gates and Leonardo DiCaprio. We want to go out on the yachts with Oprah Winfrey.
Did you call him DiCaprio?
No, DiCaprio.
I think you did.
Maybe. And Julia Roberts, and we want to go out and we want to live our life, but we can't if the little people are in India and in China, especially, and in these Asian countries. Oh, you brought a ball. Okay. If they're having children, then they're taking resources that belong to us. Okay? So we came up with a new idea. If we could confuse maybe a few children here and there, maybe thousands and thousands, to maybe I'm not a boy, and then if we could get them to remove their organs.
Patriot Gallery, you're going to have to come down and play with the dog.
If we could get them to remove their organs, then they can't have children. And then we can lower the population that way. We're very excited about this. It's actually working very well. I am concerned about those who are reaching adulthood and they want their organs back, but they can't get them back because it doesn't reverse, and that's not how it works. And you should just, once you've chosen to be something as a child, We're funding these things. It's definitely working. We want to defund. We want the population to go down.
Okay, we have more questions. Sharon wants to know, why do you think there are hundreds of genders?
Well, we don't actually believe that there are hundreds of genders. And that is the misnomer. I know that some of the simple-minded ones, those are the ones we're trying to get to believe that there are hundreds of genders. That's the idea. We don't actually believe it, just like my buddy Gavin Newsom, who has all the lockdown orders and goes out to dinner. We don't actually believe what we're telling you, okay? But we want you to believe that. We want the children to believe that. Because if there's hundreds of genders, then the male-female making baby thing won't happen, and so we can have more stuff.
Okay.
At the top.
From the UK, Barry wants to know, Leah, Democrat question, why doesn't America use paper ballots only?
Oh, come on. That's the easy one. Can't you see what's happening in this election? Paper ballots are easily traceable. You can see the signatures. And we can't rig machines if there's just paper ballots only. That's silly.
Okay. Let's see. Michael wants to know, Miss Democrat, how do we fix Democrat corruption in Democrat-run cities?
We will take care of that, okay? Because we understand that every ballot and every vote matters. And we are going to work as hard for you as we can, okay, to get your vote. And then we'll leave you high and dry.
Okay, Walter wants to know, why do you hate America and patriots?
We don't actually hate America. We really appreciate all the freedoms here. We talk about the gender pay gap and things like that, but we're making that up. We recognize that women have a hard time around the world, but really, it's just about us. It's always just about us. And we kind of just hate everything. And we're just angry kind of all the time. And so by hating America, no, we love it here. We really, really do. We just don't want you here. We want it all for ourselves.
Ah, I see. Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for tonight. That's really good, Leah. So if you want more of that, it was really, really funny. And I was able to keep a better straight face when we were doing our video. Go back and watch honest answers from a Democrat. I don't remember the exact name there, but Britt Boz wants to know, can I identify as a polar bear if a bloke can identify as a girl? Yes, you can. All right, we're going to sign off. We're going to do a mail call on Sunday. We've got Britt Baza here in the chat, one of our moderators. His package is here, and a couple other ones came in. So we will be doing a mail call after our show on Sunday. So you will not want to miss Sunday's show. Come back here at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want some sort of tagline. You know, Tucker Carlson always says they're the sworn enemy of pomposity and groupthink and smugness. And I'm like...
Wait, I'm Absentina Valentina. I don't know exactly how to pronounce my own name, but I would
Fraudulente.
Fraudulente. Absentina Valentente. Valentina. I actually have a middle name now.
Valentina. Absentine.
Fraudulente Valentina.
Okay, but in the video you put Valentina first.
Okay, Valentina Fraudulente. My middle name is Absentina.
Okay.
Okay, wait. But white supremacy is truly made up, but not in the way that you expect, because most of us are white and we actually do believe in white supremacy. We are supreme to everyone, okay? And when we bring in black people, like,
this is parody, we don't want to get taken off of our YouTube channel.
And when we bring in black people like Barack Obama, you know, he was only half black. It was better for us. You know, it was easier to swallow when he was just half black, half white. You know,
this is parody. I have to keep reminding that we're going to get taken off of the show.
He really grew up in California with the white part of his family.
Gosh,
okay. All right. And as Joe Biden pointed out, okay, Obama was the very first mainstream, clean, articulate black man. Even though he smoked, which we hid that very well, okay? But he spoke well, and other black men don't speak well. And so we don't allow very many of them to come to the top. But when we do, we use them very well. And we get them from inner cities, Okay, so that we can control the vote in inner cities. We don't actually do anything good for them in the inner cities. Okay, it's all about lobbyist power. Don't you understand? We need the votes to get in Congress so that we can have lobbyist power and so that we can become millionaires. How else did you think we allowed Barack Obama to become a millionaire? Didn't you see that? We allow some comings up a little bit here and there, but you'll notice that the people we put on the ticket this year were a 77, just turned 78-year-old white man who spoke at the, you know, the
if we go down on
eulogy,
YouTube for this, we will go down in massive flames.
The eulogy for Robert Byrd. We love Robert Byrd. We were at his eulogy. Hillary Clinton, my pal Bill Clinton. You know what Bill Clinton said about Robert Byrd and the KKK? That's just what you did in West Virginia at the time. It's how you got votes, okay? You just became part of the KKK to get votes, okay? And it's just a thing to not like black people as part of the Democrat Party, okay? Yes, for the Republicans, we did make it up. No, you are not white supremacists, and we know that. That's why we made it up. Okay? The Charlottesville guys, we paid those guys. Slicked hair, white shirts. Have you ever seen those people again? No, you never saw them. Robert Spencer said he was voting for Democrats this year. Isn't that great? We'll take any vote. Doesn't matter who comes from, even the KKK.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Valentina Fraudulente. That was parody of what the left says, not our views here on this show, which are the complete opposite of that.
We love everybody, and we have to make fun of the white supremacist Democrats because they truly are white supremacists.
They really are white supremacists. Thank you for that.
And I can't believe it's not funny. It's not funny if you have to keep saying this is parody over and over again.
I know. They would be like, look at them saying this stuff that we always say. They can't say it. It's racist. We said it. I mean, listen, we've been censored for far less. Oh my gosh. All right. I love you guys. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Leah invented, you know how Millennial Millie has, Millennial Millie. Mm-hmm. Millie Weaver has Millennial Millie. And you now have Absentina, Valentina Fraudulente.
Valentina Fraudulente.
It has to be ballot, not ballin, so they get
Ballotina.
Ballot.
Fraudulente.
Right, we get it.
Absentina.
Donna Terry says, well, ladies, you outdid yourselves this evening. We try. Okay, so we'll be back here on Sunday. Maybe a show tomorrow. We don't know. Get some rest. Be excited. Be at peace. That's the number one thing that we want you guys to take away from our show is joy and peace, knowing that God has all of this in control. Instead of getting the end sermon, you got the...
I'm going to sing a short little song and just let it go into your bones. Just very short. When I look into your holiness, when I gaze into your loveliness, when all things that surround become shadows in the light of you. Oh, I worship you. I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. That song came to my mind.
That's good.
Michelle's still locked out of her Facebook. My phone was going crazy. Don't know what's going on in Georgia. And the song came to my brain. When I look into your loveliness, when I gaze upon your holiness, then all things that surround become shadows in the light of you.
That's really good.
I worship you. I worship you.
All right, quick prayer. God, we lift up Donald Trump to you and his team of lawyers, and we pray that you surround them with your angels. You give them wisdom, knowledge, understanding, that you uncover everything, that you protect all the witnesses, everyone that's signed an affidavit. I pray that you give them peace so that they don't have to live in fear while this is being processed. I pray that you protect them and that all the truth will come out, and we will shut down and stop in 2020 the greatest fraud that has ever been committed, not only in our nation, but in nations around the world. And this is the year where Christians stand up and they say, not today,
not
devil.
today,
Not today.
Satan.
So we thank you, Father God, that you had ordained this, that you have planned this out from the beginning of time, knowing that this is what would happen in 2020, and you would get the glory. In your precious Son's name we pray, Jesus.
God will get the glory
Amen.
for saving America.
Yes, God will get the glory. Remember the prophecy from Kim Clement that said that Trump would go into office whispering God's name, but he would go out of office shouting his name. So we are still going to see that. Sunday says, I'm very excited. President Trump will be my 2020 president. We're with you. We're with you on that. All right. Good night, and God bless, guys. Bye.
Where's the ball? Doesn't even play with the ball.
I was called